Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Gracia, and I got a very fun show planned tonight. I got a great guest. We're going to chat about the world of comics. Now, usually when I have my guests on, I'm going to be interviewing them and asking them questions about, what got them into the industry and about their work. If they have a Kickstarter, you know how I normally go, and it's great. I love doing those, but I do love just having a great conversation um, about the industry. It's an industry I love. My two passions in this world are comics and animation. Um, and I can talk about either one all day long. And I think today we might even hit the topic of animation, but we're focusing on comics. We're going to talk about some of the new trailers that came out, the state of the industry. This is going to be a little different from what I normally do, but I'm totally excited because this is something, like I said, I'm passionate about, and I know my guest is as well. So let me bring on Phil Avelli.
Cheers. Good evening.
Cheers. Oh, can't see it. Cheers.
Yeah.
I got my trusty water bottle, although if
I
I had
raised
time,
my Star Trek mug to you.
if I had time, I would have made some nice green tea right before.
Yes.
But I didn't have time. So, first of all, how you doing?
All right, man. All right, pretty good. I'm in massive creative mode, which is
That's awesome.
always good. Always good.
Yeah,
Creating books and creating ways to make more books. And
that's great. I'm in the process of retooling my schedule so I
yes.
can make more stuff.
Yes. Make
Right
stuff.
now, all I'm doing is the Wiz, and I got so many more stories in me. And the Wiz, because I do it on my iPad, usually takes, like, if I do it on a Sunday, I can knock it off all day on a Sunday because it's draw the strip, ink it,
Yeah.
charge it, color it, letter it, So I could do it in one shot, but usually it takes me 2 days with my work schedule. But I want to use Wednesday through Friday to create more and more comic work that is non-Wiz work.
Right. Whiz work.
So
I like that.
thank you. Well, I used to call this Wiz Wednesday. Just
Whiz
started up,
Wednesday.
and
I remember that.
because I release every Wednesday. So if you guys haven't checked it out, remember it's at the Wiz Comic Wiz on both Facebook and Instagram. New one up today.
Yep.
So
It's good stuff, dude. I love the Whiz.
thank you. I appreciate
Fun.
it. I
It's super
appreciate
fun.
it. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. I missed doing it. I missed the idea of doing a strip.
I remember when you were uh, saying you were contemplating just being done with it
Yeah. Well,
for a while, and thankfully that time has passed
yeah,
because
I'm very happy.
yeah, we need more laughter
Thank you. Thank you.
in
Yeah.
our lives.
I mean, I told the story many times on here, and I'm pretty sure I told you, but I only stopped it because medical.
Hmm.
I was doing so many cons, running kids sections, having a day job, freelancing, and then one day and doing the strip, and then one day I remember a friend of the show is Marty Grabstein, is the voice of Courage the Cowardly Dog. He's a good
Hmm.
friend of mine. I was supposed to go to a show with him, kind of, if you want to call it his handler. It was really just drive him, hang out with him and stuff.
Right.
I'm sure the show would have had a handler for him, but I was gonna go. And I call him up, and I literally can't talk. I'm so dehydrated. My voice said I'm sick. I can't go.
Mm.
My wife takes me to the hospital. Turns out I was dehydrated and I had pneumonia. And something had to go. And unfortunately, it was the Wiz.
Mm.
And then it took forever because that was 2019. I stopped him.
Yeah, and then you know
Then the
what,
pandemic happened.
what else happened? The little
But
thing that
what
came up.
was what was great, and I think the pandemic, and anybody who outside of having COVID will say, um, for us creative people, the pandemic was a blessing.
Hmm.
I think a lot of us got work done. If I didn't get sick, I would have got a lot of work done. But I
Yeah.
started this show during the pandemic, and I was talking to strip artists as well as comic book artists, and it just kept inspiring me and saying I have to go back. And then eventually, I started chatting with the Wiz again, and
Yeah.
I now have stories.
He had more to say.
Yeah.
More to say.
So I'm very happy.
That was one of my favorite memes that popped up at that time when they said, "Oh, 2 weeks to flatten the car. Everyone's got to stay inside," and people are freaking out. And it says cartoonists. Like, huh, like that's
the
easy. You can do this in our heads. Yeah.
the meme I loved was it was because my background is in education,
Right.
and it was the one I don't remember exactly what it said, but something about like the teachers are now saying to the parents, are your kids really a pleasure to have in class? And I just laughed at that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so last time I had you on, you had a book which I have the digital copy to. I wish I opened it up to show. It
Yeah.
was.
Well,
Do you have a
uh,
copy of it?
I don't. But what I do have
Mhm.
is issue 2.
Issue 2. Let me give you the screen.
We just had our successful Kickstarter for issue 2 of Monkey
That's it.
Time.
It's Monkey
Whoop.
Time. I thoroughly enjoyed the first issue.
Thanks very much, man.
Yeah.
So this one, we continue the saga of Murray the monkey, and this time he comes across quintuplets who live in the who hang out in the dump, and they're a bunch of troublemakers,
Mhm.
and so he's got to deal with them. So the Kickstarter's done, and everybody's getting their book shipped now. Actually, I just got these like this week,
Awesome.
and but I believe it's going to be available on Amazon soon. So we're gonna have that, and I'll be sharing links for that very soon.
And as soon as you have them, I will share them with you. Now let me ask you, just as indie guy to another indie guy with the comic, when you're publishing and it's going through Amazon, are you using Amazon as the printer, the distributor, or using another website and Amazon?
Oh yeah, no, we use Amazon for the storefront mostly,
Mhm.
and printing is elsewhere.
Awesome. Okay.
So, and then we basically, well, Gary, who you've spoken to
Yes,
before, Gary Dufner, he does all the printing and the shipping and everything. He's like a machine. That
that's
dude.
great. I might have to have him on one day to
Yeah,
chat with him
yeah.
about that. You know
Oh
what?
yeah.
Even though I love to create and make comics and stuff,
Hmm.
there's some days I just really love that business and that behind the scenes of just, let's put this together, let's get this printed, let's
Hmm.
make sure it's shipped, like just all that stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of like geek out like
I've
slightly at it.
been I've been creating my own database of the stores that are left, whatever's left in the country, and I'm basically taking a state every week, and I'm you know slowly chipping away at it and creating this master list of all the comic book stores that are still active,
Yeah.
and bookstores that sell comics and stuff like
We're gonna
that.
we're gonna actually chat about that a little. So I do have something to say on that topic,
Oh,
but I
okay,
want to
great.
say hi to Dylan, who's watching, as well as Mike Wilkie. Hello, and Dylan also says, "Nice to meet you, Phil."
Hey there. What's
Um,
happening?
Now we one of the reasons I want to hold off on this topic is because it's going to lead into one of the things I want to talk about.
Hmm.
And
What a host! What a host!
I
You know
I
your stuff, man.
there is, and there's a few things I'm going to promote, a couple of things. Even like, okay, first of all, by the way, if you haven't seen, I don't remember when I've been on, but Catch the Craze, it's with the DA instead of the
Yeah.
THE. Catch the Craze. They have a podcast. Sam Vera also does things on the channel. Without George Medina, they do a Thursday morning. I still think they're doing their Thursday morning, like coffee and comic talk. Um, but Sam puts out these like 10-minute and less things, and he actually put out something about ash cans this week,
Oh.
and it was a very interesting thing. It was a little over 10 minutes,
Mhm.
but it was a very interesting topic. And I wrote him after I watched it, and I said I'd love to hear his thoughts on digital promotion because it's using ash cans for promotion. So if I can look it up while we're talking, I'll drop the link for you guys to go watch that in the comments. I do think you might enjoy the idea because it's what you're doing, like reaching out to them, is kind of what he was talking about with ash cans.
Okay.
So it might be something to get your brain, turning on that topic. But definitely check out Catch the Craze podcast. They're great stuff. Sam and George are two awesome people, and George is supposed to be writing a comic for me, and I gotta actually reach out to him about that. I'm dying to draw it.
Uh-huh.
And just so you know, he has a great book out called The Adventures of Wonder Duck. He just had a successful Kickstarter a few months ago. It's or maybe almost a year. I think I got it. I think it ended in March, and I got the book in June or something. It was a really, really good story. So anyway, so the the industry of comics has gone through.
This is a big subject.
I know. Do you before we get into comics, do you wanna talk about the movies and
Keep it light?
go a little, because I mean, here's the thing. Before we even start, I've been doing a lot of thinking on this topic. People, because I've even mentioned this to you, I've complained a lot, even on social media, about certain shows, and and some people say I have superhero fatigue. I don't have superhero fatigue because I'll watch anything. I just rewatched the old Superman, Christopher Reeve. I've been I'm a big fan. But like Dean Cain, Superman, like I've been rewatching this stuff on HBO Max.
It's more like bad story fatigue.
That's that's what I have. I have bad story fatigue. Yeah. And I have that in comic books, and I have that in film and television. Mm-hmm. And when I was sitting here thinking about, why are these movies so bad? Why are the shows I wish were better, but like, one of the things I think is they're not using their great characters in TV.
Right.
They're turning characters into great characters if they can, but the problem is comics are a serialized form of storytelling. So they shouldn't be working well in movies. You can't tell a good serialized story in the 2 hours.
Right.
When we had comic strips, and I'm talking the dawn of comic strips, and it was, well, a little further in, but you're reading Dick Tracy, The Phantom, all the Terry and the Pirates. You came back daily for that serialized story. And then
find out what happens.
Exactly. And then when they started making movies, when Hollywood made movie serials at the time, which were the 15-20 minute shorts into a full movie, but they made you come back to the theater. Mm-hmm. They made you spend more money to see what was going on with Captain Marvel or whoever
Flash
it was.
Gordons were great.
Yeah, and they pulled all those from comics.
Yep.
So I'm like, why did the formula work back then? Mm-hmm. But now it's not working.
You can see that in phase 1 of Marvel, when they seemed to know what they were doing. It was kind of that, but expanded, because all the movies were connecting. You kind of wondered, okay, this is going to lead into this, and they all did kind of like cliffhanger, kind of endings. You had to,
they have credit scenes and stuff.
Know what was going to, the end credit hook to get you into the next bit. I mean, it's honestly the only reason why Captain Marvel did well, because it was placed right in the perfect spot, where, this is going to come into Endgame somehow. So we got to watch this. We have to go. And that's kind of what it became. Like, we have to go see this because it's going to somehow connect this story and this story. And so it was like a wave of promotion, which is brilliant. And then it stopped. after Endgame, I guess they were just like, what do we do now? And then it was just, this kind of started toppling over with.
I got to be honest, I'm not eager to see Ant-Man and the Wasp. Comes out this Friday. I still haven't seen Wakanda Forever. Yeah. And which, by the way, for you Black Panther fans or Black Lightning, There is a show going on at Poe Park right now. It's an art show at the Poe Park. I forget the exact name. But just go to Poe Park in the Bronx, and there's artwork up there. Um, Gorgeous artwork featuring original. I think they're original, like Trevor Von Eden work.
Oh,
I think Paris Cullen has work in there. I have work in there. Friend of
wow.
the show, Ray Felix, Phil Boutte Jr., who's a major concept artist, I believe, for the both Black Panther and Wakanda Forever movies. Does other stuff too. There's a lot of great indie people, a lot of great well-known names. There's work hanging up in there. There's a print of a Kirby piece. Excuse me, like one of the original designs before he was even called Black Panther. It was like
Cool.
what was he,
So
Gold
when he still had
Tiger?
the little cape, he still had the little cape on his back, I
I
think.
think so. If you guys, if you follow me on social media, I posted it's about a 2.5 minute video of the show. So I just kind of took all the artwork and went by. But yeah, go down and check it out in person. It's pretty cool stuff. I think it's going to be up there until March, but it's called Black Panther Lightning Power, and it's celebrating Black superheroes in comics. So go check that out. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but we were talking about
No, that's fine.
yeah.
But I've lost my train of
Oh,
thought.
I'm sorry. You were talking about how no one knows what they're doing now.
Oh yeah. Oh, that. No, just that like we were talking about the serials and
Yeah.
how it all was like that, and after Marvel, phase 2, I think that's when it all kind of collapsed, and then it all just became I don't know, just lackluster, so don't care anymore. I was excited to go to the movies again, and then now it's gone.
Yeah, I think they, and again, for me, it's not superhero fatigue. For other people, it may be, because it's poor storytelling for me.
Yeah.
But they threw too much at you at
Mm-hmm.
once, between Marvel on Disney Plus, Star Wars on Disney Plus, whatever else. It was just too much, too quick, that I don't care if I watch it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed The Mandalorian. I wanted to love Boba Fett. Boba Fett could have been a really great, like, mob story. That's what it felt like. It was like a like The Godfather, but in Star Wars.
Right.
And then they do an episode and a half of basically The Mandalorian, and I don't care.
And that was just because everything was getting so bad. I mean, there was that episode with like that floaty motorcycle gang, and they all look like Power Rangers. I was like, what is that?
Exactly. Exactly. And their machines
look so terrible,
too clean for the era of Star Wars that it was in. This wasn't this is all taking place after Jedi. So
right.
Nothing looks clean, at least on Tatooine or wherever there are. It's hold on. Dylan asks, what's your book called again?
Oh, I have several, but this the all ages book is called It's Monkey Time. And issue 1 you could definitely find on Amazon, and issue 2 is going to be going up soon, I think.
Okay.
I'm waiting to hear back from Gary, the other artist / writer on that. I also have a book called Leaf, and that's on monarchcomics.com. That's more sci-fi, action adventure stuff.
Yeah, I never read that one. I do want to get a copy. Next time I see it at like a show, I have to
cool. Yeah, definitely.
I have to get a copy. But yeah, so anyway, like going back to Obi-Wan, I wasn't a fan of.
I didn't even bother. I can't even.
Keep it away from what's her name? That character that they said if you don't like her, you're basically racist already. I don't even remember her name, but she was not important to the story.
Right.
I'm not saying she was a bad actress. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I just did not think her character was needed. But also, if you follow the Star Wars storyline when things take place,
Hmm.
why the hell would um would oh god, I'm blanking on his name. The Leia's adopted father send for Obi-Wan when he knows Obi-Wan's there to protect Luke, and
Yeah,
he has access to a bunch of other characters, including Ahsoka Tano.
yeah. None of it makes sense.
Yeah,
And I got tired of being beat down by the by those shows and disappointed,
yeah,
except for the big reveal at the end of Mandalorian, which
yeah,
was the last time any of that was fun.
yeah. And the new season, what's coming later this year, and
That trailer looked good. I gotta admit,
yeah,
but
but I
all
think
that
I've
action
lost
is probably like
interest.
2 seconds of each episode.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I can watch a YouTube recap the next day or an
Yeah.
hour after it's been on. you know, it's just not. Those things are not doing it for me. And Marvel was bad. DC. Did you watch DC's? What was it? Peacemaker.
No, it's funny. It's kind of a running joke at work because everyone they keep asking me, "Did you see it? Did you see it?" And I'm like, I really want to see Suicide Squad 2 first because I still didn't see that."
You don't
And
have to, but
I was like, "But I want to see that before I see this." And of course, like everything else, I never get to it.
yeah.
So no. Is
Well,
a short answer.
I will say this: you don't need to
Really?
on either of them. I mean,
Wow.
unless you're really a James Gunn fan.
I'm a big Starro fan.
Yeah, but that just wasn't even
No.
done right. I just watched the on HBO Max the Super Sons, whatever it was called, Batman Superman Super Sons.
Yeah.
It's the new
Yeah.
animated movie. I think it's little over it's like almost 2 hours, I think.
Mhm.
Um it was fun. It was a great movie.
Okay.
And Starro was the villain and I loved how they handled it. Starro.
That's funny.
I'm like that is great. Um
To answer Dylan's
yeah.
question, I do like cartoons
Mhm.
if they're from the 80s. Thundercats ho. And yeah, and all artists. So yeah, I do double duty
Yeah.
on my books.
Um so yeah, it's funny you said Thundercats. So I was actually talking to someone about that show the other day, and I said to them, when I was a kid, I loved Thundercats. As an adult, I don't understand how I enjoyed it as a kid. I look at it and I'm like, this moves so slow.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
cartoon is so boring. What kept me so intrigued into this cartoon as a kid?
It was Chitara, dude. Come on,
It
be
was
honest.
Chitara.
We all love Chitara.
That's
Um,
funny, but no, but I'm just like I can't like even the voices. What was that female cop? Her voice just
yeah, yeah.
and it
I
was
think
voiced by the girl who played
the
Chitara, I
Chitara,
believe.
yeah,
Yeah,
same one, but she had to sound more, I don't know, more butch
yeah. I don't know
or
that.
something. And the worst was like and I swear I haven't watched it since then, but that horrible joke stuck with me since then.
Mhm,
Because they're fighting this bad guy who like reeked of smell or something like that. It was like
mhm.
this junk, you know, creature who just like had a bad odor or something and shot smoke at people and stuff, or I forget what. And the big weapon that took him out at the end was soap.
It was
It's like, what
oh,
is this? He shoots the lady cop with the deep voice
mm,
shoots this guy with this foamy substance. What
mhm.
is this? It's this thing called soap. I'm like, really? Even
I
as a
think
kid, I'm like, what? Really?
I think I remember that. That sounds
It was
very
horrible.
familiar to me.
Horrible.
I what was I gonna say? The only thing that really is vivid to me, there's certain scenes, but when he went up against the snowman
Yeah.
and and he had the cat named Snow Meow. It
Yeah,
was a
Snow
big like
Meow.
snow leopard or something. I'm like, that is like the coolest name I thought. I'm like, it's so bad, so good. Nolan Dillon says, "Hey Mike, guess what? I'm making my own tuning pilot. That's great to hear. When it's ready, let me know."
We want to see it.
Yes. God, what was I gonna say? But yeah, anyway, getting back to these movies, let's talk about some of the stuff that is coming out now. All right. We'll just go to two big ones because of our geekdom.
Yeah.
Let's start with, let me actually open the screen first.
Ooh, visuals.
Indiana Jones #5. Now, for those who don't know, I am a huge Indiana Jones fan. Definitely 1 through 3, mostly 1 through 2.
Yeah.
Okay. As a child, I mean, in my childhood, like that's the type of adventure, that was the type of stuff. I became such a Scrooge McDuck comic fan because of Indiana Jones.
That's a really interesting bridge.
Well, no, I mean he's an adventurer.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
sure, he's you know, he's the richest duck in the world or whatever, but he went on adventures. He had friends
Yeah.
that helped him out. He had family. He went on all these things. And if I remember correctly, I believe some of the inspiration came from Scrooge.
Interesting.
Excuse me. I don't know 100%. I can't. Excuse me. Sorry, just having some.
DuckTales was awesome too.
Yes, but never say that to Don Rosa.
Is Don Rosa here?
Well, if you ever meet him at a con,
Is he in the chat?
which I saw at, I believe he's going to be at Terrificon this August. Okay. So I have to buy my ticket or buy a table, one of the two. But I've never met him, and you know, I believe he's in the Midwest, and he doesn't get out here, I believe, as often, or at least to Terrificon. So you know, he's somebody I'd like to meet, and and actually that's going to lead into another conversation.
How about Tailspin? Can I like Tailspin?
Yes, you can. But here's I'll tell you why he doesn't like DuckTales. And after hearing his reason, I understand it. Carl Barks created Scrooge, basically defined Donald in comics. All the Disney ducks are basically Carl Barks's creation. I mean, Donald obviously wasn't, but Donald was used in the stories.
Right.
And when Carl Barks stopped doing comics, or I don't know if he retired or if he passed away when I don't remember how, but Don Rosa is the closest to the Carl Barks stories. He has a love of the characters. He has a love of the Carl Barks stories. They were part of his childhood. So when he got to take over, he really stayed faithful to the Carl Barks story. Even the artwork is very similar, you know, almost to the point that if you are not very familiar with either, you might think that he's drawing Carl Barks ducks, you know. And DuckTales is based on the stories both by mostly Carl Barks, but they're kind of bastardized, you know, because they have to change things, and certain characters are taken out and certain things are put in, and the stories are changed. And he doesn't like that the books, or that DuckTales itself changed the legacy that Carl Barks brought.
Okay.
So you don't mention DuckTales to him.
That's good to know.
And by the way, I wish I had it. I could grab it real quick. Speaking of Disney Ducks and how much of a fan I am of Disney Ducks, last Friday was my birthday. Excuse me, sorry.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And my wife, besides giving me some nice Lord of the Rings stuff, you know, like signs to put, like she gave me a nice sign that is above our kitchen that now says now serving, and it's breakfast, second breakfast, 11, you know, like all that. And then she gave me another one for my studio door, which I got to put up. It says speak, friend, and enter.
That's awesome.
And cool. But The other thing she got me was a Disney Ducks like Hawaiian style shirt.
Nice.
I'm like when I open, I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, oh my god, now I don't know what to wear it to. But I will wear it if I go meet Don Rosa. That will be my shirt for the day.
Uh-huh.
Because it might even have some of his artwork on there, to be honest.
Mm.
So I haven't looked at it. Clearly, we kind of just put it in my closet. Like, let's get this out. Let's put it away so I don't mess it up.
Save it for convention season.
That's what I wear. I wear stuff like that to cons.
Yeah, sure.
So, anyway, let's get to Indiana Jones. We're gonna go back to Scrooge in a bit, but I set up screenshots. I thought it would be easier, but I don't even know if these are good. Good.
Yeah, I don't know if they hit you if you play the trailer, right?
We kind of have to talk over it because of copyright infringement. Dylan, I know of Fred Wolf. We can talk about him another time. But yeah, I mean, if you want, I can go onto YouTube and try to play it. But I mean, there's just so much when I'm looking at this here. What is this?
I mean, I have to admit, I know they worked a shit ton to make that trailer interesting. And the reason it's more interesting now is because they cut Phoebe, what's her name's part in that. Here she is.
Yeah.
They cut her down to 2 little bits because word got out that the plan was to replace Indy with her.
Yes.
And fan uproar was at its height. And I was right there with them, cracking my whip. With my Indy hat.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
But you know what? Number one, it's a trend now to put females in the lead, which is fine. I'm all fine with.
In the lead is okay, but replacing your characters.
Well, listen, the dude's 80 years old, right? 81 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
but the whole thing is but the plot, from what I heard, is that because time travel is involved, she's supposed to go back and erase him completely.
You see, I didn't hear that, and that really upsets me.
That got out through the YouTuber Doomcock.
Yeah, you know, a friend of mine.
It was confirmed. It wasn't just a rumor. It was confirmed.
Here's the thing. A friend of mine watches Doomcock a lot, and he tells me things. I told him not to tell me that part. Don't tell me anything about Indiana Jones from Doomcock.
Right.
I do watch him on occasion. He is one of my regular. I wouldn't say regular. He's more of an occasion.
Sure, yeah.
He doesn't pop up on the feed.
Same here.
But you know, there are others that I watch regularly. And
yeah. When they all started saying the same thing, that's kind of when I realized it was actually happening.
But I will say this about Doomcock. When he talks and says, you know, I've got like confirmation or I got on good authority or whatever, it's normally true.
Yeah. He also does the whole take it with a grain of salt when he's not sure. And that's fair. You know, I think that's totally fair. He's not spreading anything that's false.
Yeah.
That I've ever heard.
But I'm hoping that's not true. Here's the thing. When we look at Star Wars, you know, the last Jedi and all that other garbage they made after
that's the word.
I don't feel, and I think you'll feel this way too. I don't think Luke got the ending he deserved, as many other characters in there. I mean, Han's way of going, I think, was fine, but I would have liked to have seen them all together at least once before he died.
Yeah, definitely.
But with Luke not getting his, you know, his death, excuse me, you know,
his whole grumpy old man thing was all crap too. It was like,
I mean, Mark Hamill didn't like it either.
It's just they just destroyed those characters just for the sake of destroying characters, because put the disclaimer out, my opinion, it just seems the trend right now with everything is destroy all heroes. Make them all.
Oh, I'm sorry. You
Uh,
you you cut out for a second. Destroy
oh,
what?
see, it's the Big Brother, man. They're cutting me off. No, destroy all the heroes. It's
Yeah.
just take them, uh, demasculate them, make them irrelevant, make them wrong.
Yeah.
Change them somehow so now they can be okay. If or just make them disappear. Or
Hmm.
like in this case, what almost happened with Indy, make the character back in time and make him disappear, and
Yeah.
then she's Indiana Jones, for
Yeah. And
whatever movie she's gonna make.
but
And
yeah, what I was saying with Star Wars, though, and who knows how it's going to happen. I just want him to have that happy ending that he
yeah,
deserved. It was like watching, like at the end of Endgame when you finally see Captain America and Peggy dancing.
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I teared up a little bit.
yeah,
You were
man.
rooting
That's
for him.
yeah,
You were rooting for him, and he got it. And then to have the first episode of She-Hulk be nothing but
uh, yeah,
jokes about Captain America and his virginity and having sex and
right.
stuff, like that turned me off to the show because they spent all this time. I mean, there were lots of other things that turned me off to that show in the first
Yeah,
episode too.
yeah. There's
But
lots.
excuse me, you have that character that's been on screen for 10 years, that how honorable he is, how loyal he is,
hmm
everything. They didn't even have a relationship. He kept a picture of her in his
Yeah,
freaking compass. You
the,
know, this
yeah.
this dude, and then to just go and kind of destroy everything they built in that 10 years for him.
I mean, just all you have to do is look at who they choose to be the writers and directors,
And
and
that's the
they're
issue.
not fans. Have no respect for the source material,
Hmm.
not a care at all. They just
I mean,
have their boxes to tick,
yeah.
and that's how they get their jobs.
Well, seriously, I mean, I'm not even going to bring up Velma, but just think
Oh,
about the
dear
stuff that
Lord.
was going on in there.
That was ridiculous, man. Every time something came up, I thought it was like, is this parody? Or is
Yeah.
this like a joke? But no, it was not. It's
I'll tell you
actually
right now, if I was an artist on that show, I would not want that on my IMDb, and I would not put that on my resume.
no way. That's an
I feel
embarrassment.
bad for the artist who that was their first job.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, being told this is great. This is going to be great, guys. We're making history here.
yeah. Oh my God, I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but and I didn't watch any of it. I just saw clips. But how do you make a show based on a children's cartoon?
Yeah.
Excuse me, make it adult and
hmm
not even put the damn dog in there.
Oh, yeah. I don't get how that even. I mean, I'm kind of glad they didn't, because at least they didn't defile Scooby in some way, because they would have found a way. But yeah, it was. It's just ridiculous, and atrocious.
Yeah.
Atrocious. I
Let-
can't talk tonight.
It's okay, man.
Need more
I,
coffee.
I know what you're trying to say. Um,
I get all worked up about my Scooby Doo.
this one picture has summed up the entire my feeling of the Indiana Jones trailer.
Like, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what to think. Even like when they first released it, right? And not the Super Bowl. I'm talking the first trailer that came out, teaser, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Listen, when you hear the music, you kind of get
You
excited.
get like, oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah, and then you hear what's his name? God, why am I blanking on his name? But the one who was in Lord of the Rings, who was Gimli. And he
Yeah,
starts talking.
John Reese Davies.
Yeah,
Right?
he starts talking. You're like, okay, I know that voice. This
Yeah.
is cool. And then you watch the rest of the trailer, and it's kind of like, eh,
Yeah.
And then the Super Bowl one comes out, and it looks a little better.
Well, they had a long time to work on it.
Yeah, but then you look at the Super Bowl, and I'm like, and you try to and you remember what came out before.
Yeah.
And it's like you were saying, how much they edited.
Lots, man, lots. And granted, not to be ridiculous about it, but of course, the guy's really old, and
Yeah.
he can't do all that stuff. It's gonna be tons of stunt men jumping around and doing all that stuff, but they're trying to shoehorn in a story that is not appropriate for the character.
Yeah.
Terrible for the legacy of the character. Disrespectful to the source material as usual.
Yeah.
All to get what's her name, Kathleen Kennedy's job done to destroy something else that
Yeah.
Gen X men love.
Listen, I would I would say this. Um I'm okay, like I'm okay with actors being replaced in roles.
Of
I mean,
course,
obviously Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford created the well, he created the character on
he embodied
screen.
the character.
Yeah,
Yeah,
embodied. He was the one we all know.
right.
But back in the late 90s and early 2000s when the Mummy movies were coming out, I'm like, why aren't we putting Brendan Fraser in this role and have him take over? He would have been great. By now, it could have been another one. So it's like James Bond. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
who it is. It's the
right,
007. Indiana is his name. You know,
right.
it's like I would have been fine in progression if they did those type of things, you know?
Sure. Or even if it was just a different actor playing the same character, and
Yeah,
you just have him in the past, because his adventures went on for a long time. And there could have been set in between these two stories, or whatever. Wouldn't
exactly.
matter if the character is charismatic enough, and there's no reason that that can't happen. What
Yeah.
I'm curious about is in the future, um, when all this AI
Hmm.
nonsense becomes more, um, you know, put together and more complete. Are we going to see actors be in roles for like ever because they'll just be AI,
I mean,
and maybe
technically you could.
their families would receive residuals, or actually they probably wouldn't. I'm talking like movie studios actually would give you something, but the
No,
movie studios
they'll own the likeness.
they'll own the likeness. They'll own, like, say, Harrison Ford as a person, and use him as their character forever, and
Yeah.
they'll just keep generating movies with him, like looking like he was when he was 40
Yeah.
or something. And it'll just
I've
be
had
like
that
watching a
thought.
cartoon, but like it'd be like watching Avatar, I guess, but with
Yeah.
actual celebrities that we know. That'd be weird, man.
Yeah, no, I've had that thought too. I thought about that a while ago. And I don't know if I could deal with that,
Yeah,
you
it
know.
would just be funny, you know.
Yeah.
But it's Hollywood, so
It's Hollywood.
hey, hooray for Hollywood.
Let's move on cuz we've been we're already at 43 minutes, man. We haven't even
Dude, we could
scratched the surface.
ramble. We're gonna do one of those 3-hour streams one day.
I could do it tonight if you want. You have enough coffee in you?
No.
So I put in the Flash trailer
Yes,
screenshots. There's some
this will be
interesting
interesting to
things.
talk about for sure.
Here's what I'm going to say. There's first off, and I'm going to say exactly what I told you when before we went on. I hate how much I like this trailer.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I have
wanted
to
I
admit
really
the same.
wanted to hate it because of how nutty Ezra Miller is.
Uh huh.
I'm like, I can't be a fan. I've always thought he was a good actor. Actually, a pretty, maybe I don't know if I go so far to say great. I've always liked him in everything that I've seen him in. You know?
I've never seen him in anything except Justice League,
Oh, okay.
unless something I
There,
didn't recognize him in.
yeah, but he's a good actor, and unfortunately, he's kind of crazy.
He's kind
Uh,
of.
and everything that has been said about him in the news, I try not to base my opinion off that, but what he's done is kind of like it's a little too much to kind of say, yeah, I'm gonna forgive you for you know what you're possibly
Accused of.
accused. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I One of the things I really loved, and it's not Batman,
Hmm.
was the flash ring.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Seeing that flash ring, the way it opened and spun, I was like,
Yeah. I was like,
okay,
yay!
that's
Something.
cool. That's a cool way of doing it. And
I
you
was
see that
happy about that.
the costume like really compressed in this little box inside. I was like,
Yeah,
wow, that was
that was one
awesome.
of those things when I was a kid. I was like, how would that work? But I'm like, oh, okay, whatever.
It's a comic book, man.
It
It'll
works.
work.
Uh,
And then we see this.
yeah. Uh, is it me, or when he says, "Yeah, I'm Batman"? Does he look bored?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know, he's like, "Yeah, I'm Batman. So what?"
I think he said it enough in his lifetime in interviews and and stuff.
I know, but dude, it's like it's your grand return
Mm.
to the character, which he admittedly hated. That was one of my big things in my personal life. Right, all my friends have this running gag with me that's been going on since college, since the Batman movies started.
Yeah.
And I was very anti Michael Keaton Batman. I was like, I'm never going to see those movies. I refuse. I refuse. I refuse. To the point where my friends would get on me like all the time. It's like, no way. It just became like a running joke. My
Yeah.
my anger at them picking Michael Keaton to be Batman. I was like, it just doesn't make sense. I don't get it. It's ridiculous. And but apparently he, like, in interviews, he hated the genre. He thought it was stupid. And uh, my good friend Patty Hawkins, who hosts a lot of conventions and interviews lots of people. He always has great stories. That stuff. He was one of the guys who egged me on the most. Um, and to be perfectly honest, I still haven't really watched them.
Well, here's what I'm going to say, and I don't know if I've ever said this on this show. I've know I said it on other podcasts. I do not like any of the live action Batman. None. I mean, I
Yeah.
could see things in them that work, things that don't, but it's not usually the actor's fault. It's
Hmm.
more the story. No movie has ever made Batman, and you can say what you want about the new Pattinson one there.
I have nothing to say about that.
Okay. But nobody has made Batman Batman. He's gadget guy.
Yeah.
In that first movie with Michael Keaton, I'm sure you've seen the clip where the Joker says, "Where does he get those wonderful toys?" That's all
Yeah.
Batman has become since that line. I mean, even
Right.
if you go to the movie serials, at least he was trying to do some detective work. Even Adam
It,
West.
if you had to pick one movie Batman to say is a good movie Batman, and you would want to see another Batman from him, who would that be?
Oh my God, I couldn't even
Put,
answer that.
I'll put you on the spot. Put you on the spot.
I have two choices.
Just don't say George Clooney, because I'll dip out right now.
I was going to say that as a joke, but you know what? His
Oops, I'm out.
again, George Clooney's a good actor. His story sucked. If they gave him
Yeah.
something
Joel
non-comical,
Schumacher sucked.
well, that's the problem. If Clooney got a good story, he would have been a great Batman.
The intro of Bat Nipples was his contribution to
Yes,
that.
but that was with Batman Forever with Val Kilmer.
Yeah,
And
that's not. Yeah.
and honestly, I think Val Kilmer made the best Bruce Wayne.
Yep. I would agree with that.
I'm not sure I would choose him as Batman, but because I liked him so much as Bruce Wayne, he might be my number one choice of that era.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know. I mean, I'm just
I
gonna
gotta
go with
say,
Val.
as much as it pains me to say, because I'm not really a fan of his, I really like Ben Affleck did Batman. I have to say.
I think Affleck brought Batman as close to the comic as you
Yeah.
can get.
Like, he looks like
I
a Jim Lee drawing
yeah,
to me. Like, uh,
too
I
much
think,
rubber muscles and stuff.
yeah, which is okay. I mean, if they tone that down a little bit, it would be better. But I was really surprised. I just liked him as both as Bruce Wayne and as Batman, because I would just love to see him have just like a Batman movie where he's actually like slugging it out with people, and no more origin stories, please.
Well, let's see what
Enough.
if he's still doing that lawsuit, right? Him, Gal Gadot, and Henry Cavill. I heard we are going
Yeah.
to suing. Um, but who knows? I mean, I, you know, first of all, I've always liked Ben Affleck as an actor.
Mm.
Um, I'm not going to say he always picks the best movies, but
No.
He's a good actor. And when he got the role of Daredevil, I'm like,
Oh yeah, right.
I can
Yeah.
see that. But you know what? I always said he reminds me of like a Neil Adams Batman. He's got that long
Yeah.
jawline. And I'm
Totally.
like, and I always said, like, when I saw him in the costume of Daredevil, I'm like, oh my God, just think if the cowl went all the way down, like he would
Yeah. Yeah.
have a great Batman. So I've always thought he'd be a good Batman.
You were predicting the future.
Yeah. But he just oh, I wish I could do that. He just was good. But again, the stories, it's
Yeah.
these people don't know what the hell they're doing. And like I said earlier, I think comics need to be more geared towards TV or streaming services rather than movies, because they work better serialized and they work better for character development.
Yeah, agreed.
So I'd rather see more HBO Max stories for DC than actual films coming out.
Mm.
But I mean, this looks cool. This is great. I love that they got him playing different versions of himself.
Yeah. It was a good trailer.
Yeah.
I can't take that away from the editors are very good at what they do.
But this is the reason everybody's loving it. This is the reason everybody's going to go see it.
Yeah.
Is right here. This.
Yep.
That is it. That is it.
The grand return.
Yeah.
Batman Returns again.
Yes. Oh man, but yeah, I mean, and you know what? I love this Flash. I haven't watched the last couple of seasons because the show is
the TV show. Yeah. I've been lax on that. I haven't watched for a few.
But this is its final season.
Uh-huh.
I do know that. I think they're just going to go. It eventually became a show of just kind of like bad jokes and nonsense and where are we going with the story.
Right.
And I wanted to like it because I've always liked the Flash. I mean, I'm a DC guy over Marvel. Mm-hmm. Always have been.
Yeah.
And, it's Superman, Dr. Fate, Nightwing, Green Lantern, both Alan Scott and Hal Jordan. Those are my top 5.
I gotta say, I didn't see the movie, but I was psyched to see Dr. Fate in the Black Adam.
You don't need to see the movie.
Yeah, I'm upset about that because I love the Justice Society was represented, but I'm sure it's terrible.
here's my, it was a popcorn movie. I mean, I'm upset I saw it in the theater as opposed to watching on an HBO Max.
Right.
It's a decent film, but I don't think it was the right character to lead a film. Now, again, I'm a big Justice Society guy. If I was to, I don't know how much you can see. Let me give myself the screen for a second. I don't know if you can see behind me all my DC Showcase books where Popeye is.
Oh yeah.
And I got, I love all those like classic stuff. I got the Trial of the Flash up there.
Awesome.
What's that? DC Comics presents Superman team ups. Got Captain Carrot, Blue Beetle, All-Star Comics. I got a bunch of things, and these are what I like to go through.
Did you say Captain Carrot?
Yeah.
And the Zoo Crew?
Yep, they have a whole thing on there, and this, and I'd love to get more. They're just hard to find because nobody. It's rare to find them. Yeah. And my local comic shop, the Spider's Web, closed down.
Closed down.
So, and I didn't have enough money to buy them out with of their collection. But that's where I got the majority of them.
Wow.
Legion of Superheroes, Robin the Boy Wonder, Shazam. I got the Super Friends stuff.
That's great.
Yeah,
very cool.
I mean, and those have no color. So being colorblind, I tend to lean towards those a little bit more. And as an artist, I just love to look at the inks without the color getting in the way.
Yeah, I love that just because I love inking. I
Yeah.
like looking at the black and white art.
But yeah, no. So I mean, like, I love that stuff. JSA. I love the old versions and all that stuff, right? But
Yeah.
this movie, things that happened in this movie were not set up right for the JSA to come in,
Mm-hmm.
and the way they handled them, for you to even give a crap about any of them if something was to happen to them.
Right.
You know, you didn't have enough time to fall in love with the characters. The other issue with the movie, Black Adam at the core is a villain.
Yes.
You know, um, so even though he's a hero to the city, it's almost like he's the new version of Vlad the Impaler. You know, people hear of how he put heads on spikes and did all this stuff, and he was an evil man.
Mm-hmm.
But to the people of his country, he was a
Yeah.
hero.
He saved them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
he was a hero. So that's kind of how I saw the movie. But I also heard, and I don't know how true this is, but Dwayne Johnson had a thing in his contract that his character can't lose. But if you're the villain
Wow.
of a story, like how do you win every time? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't make sense.
He's just misunderstood.
Yeah, it just wasn't right. I mean, they could have done so much more to the story. They could have, like,
Ever since Scorpion King, he's like, I can't lose anymore.
Well, I mean, I will say this: the one thing they could have done with his origin is connected him to Hawkman and Dr. Fate back in ancient Egypt, right?
Right.
They could have connected that where Hawkman was there, and instead of it being Dr. Fate, it's Naboo before he goes into the helmet, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would have been a great story. No, that's not how it worked. You don't need to see it. I saw it, so you don't have to.
More disappointments. More
Yes.
disappointments everywhere.
Speaking of disappointments, we're moving on. Oh, I'm sorry.
Farewell, Flash.
We're moving on to Duck Talks. Now, if you've never been on ducktalks.com, they talk about ducks. What kind of ducks? But Disney ducks.
Wow, Disney ducks.
All right. And, oh my God, let me just say this here. Don Rosa, we were talking about him earlier. All right.
Right.
He was the second version. He actually did a book called The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck. And it talks about how he went from being this poor character,
right,
in Scotland up to becoming the richest duck, in the world. So now we have a society that is very open to getting hurt for other people right now.
Mm-hmm.
They can get offended very easily.
Oh, yes.
Not just for them, but for other people.
Oh, yes.
And I think this is what happened. Now, Disney goes to I know I've spoken to people at Disney, not Disney Comics, but who've worked in the parks, and I've talked to people through social media and stuff and listened to videos. And I know Disney, at least in the Disney parks, they go through each ride every 7 years to see how can they update it? How can they redo the story? And I know they go into their archives and do the same thing. How can we fix the stories? How can we update it? Basically, how can we take something we already have and make more money with it?
Correct.
All right. Yeah. And I don't think that's a bad thing. If I had a property that I hadn't used in 5-10 years,
sure.
How do I bring them back to make money? I'm not knocking Disney for doing that, right? But when these were created, it was a different time. And for that, I think, things could be handled differently. When the Looney Tunes DVDs came out that had what would be considered racist, they had Whoopi Goldberg come on the front and say it would be wrong to erase part of American history, but it was a different time and these should be understood for what they are. I don't remember her words word for word. I'm paraphrasing it, but that was out on the DVD. And I always thought, that was a very interesting way of stating it. And I thought, hey, look, when things come out that are from different eras, that's how I'm going to look at it. You know, it's from a
Yeah, I mean,
different era.
you have a brain in your head.
Um,
This should be obvious.
so there are two parts. So it says, as part of the ongoing commitment to diversity and inclusion, the Walt Disney Company,
The two
yeah,
favorite words.
yep, is in the process of reviewing their library of stories. As a result, some stories that do not align with their values will no longer be published. This applies to two of your classic stories, and this was an email written to Don Rosa. The Richest Duck in the World and The Dream of a Lifetime. These stories will not be part of any reprints or new collections.
Wow.
Now, it
Because
would be okay if it,
he's a privileged duck. That's the problem.
it would be okay. I'll say more in a moment, but it'll be okay. It would be okay if those stories were not part of the life and times. They're integral parts of the story, you know?
Yeah, right.
It was a multi-comic that was put together. I just ordered like just recently the two volume collection that Fantagraphic put out. I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to read this story, go out and buy those. I got it. Mine I got off Walmart, $55 for both. Amazon selling them for about 70. I found another website, but I didn't know the ship, and they were at 23 a piece, right?
Uh-huh.
But I was on eBay already.
And they're jacked up.
Things
right?
are already jacked up. I'm going to show
Yeah.
you something. I have a book right here. Whoops, hold on. Now, the Fantagraphics has extra stuff. That's why I purchased it. But I already have a copy. I'm just going to give myself a screen so you guys can see it larger. Here's the book. All right.
Uh-huh.
Now, this is Don Rosa, The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck. This book itself, I saw on eBay for like $80 today. Now, I'm not saying it's not worth that. I paid $16.99 when this book came out. I don't even know what print version it is or what release. But there's a little extra stuff that they put into the Fantagraphic books. I have a couple here. I'm not gonna put that.
That's a great company.
Yeah, they put out some really nice stuff, and but I don't know if you can see if I move over a bit. It's hard to see, but my fan next to like Dino and Figment, there's my Scrooge McDuck snow globe, my DuckTales mug, my Christmas ornament my wife got me where he's jumping out of the money bin or jumping into the money bin, and then I got some Mickey Mouse and Uncle Scrooge books over there from Fantagraphic. Now, I wanted the extras, and that's why and the extras are just like introductions and other stuff about, whatever. Which is why I bought it.
Right, sure.
But if you want to read the story, go out and get it. You're not going to have time because once these are sold out, they're not reprinting this story.
And hold on to your physical media, people. That's I could do a whole episode on just that. Hold on to your physical media.
And I will say some of the DuckTales stories about Scrooge's past are in that book.
Right.
Which were bastardized, by according to Don Rosa. Now, here, I'm just going to read a couple of things here. So the email references two offending stories as The Richest Duck in the World and The Dream of a Lifetime. The Richest Duck in the World is a Christmas story of Scrooge McDuck inviting his nephew Donald Duck and his great-nephews Huey, Dewey, and Louie to his mansion directly following the events from Christmas on Bear Mountain. The story was originally published in 1994, and its 12th chapter, and is the 12th chapter of the life and times of Scrooge McDuck. Now, I got to say, I know some of the when I just said I saw the date, I wasn't aware. But then
in
this
the 90s. Wow.
Well, this no, but what I'm saying is, I said some of the stuff was from what Don Rosa did. It was more than likely Carl Barks issue that Don Rosa, was taken from.
Gotcha.
So it turns out that the band story is actually the 11th chapter of the life at times of Scrooge McDuck, which is titled "The Empire Builder of Callisto." Is it Callista? Which sometimes is referred to as the richest duck in the world. in some European country. Okay. The story was published in 1994, and it chronicles Scrooge McDuck's time from 1909 to 1930. In this story, Scrooge makes a lot of his great fortune, and the process alienates him from all the people that he cares about him, including his two sisters. The story includes a witch doctor and a zombie, Bombi the zombie, that are from an African tribe.
Uh-oh.
Now, I can already tell you, here you go. You could already see.
Yeah.
Now, I don't need to read this anymore about this, but what I will say is in this one here, I'm sure that the original Carl Bark Bombi the Zombie story, Voodoo Hoodoo from 1949, will also be included in the band. Now, here's one of the things that really bothers me about this. Now, I get, hey, look, we got to look. Oh, wait, let me get you back on the screen. I didn't realize I was still on here reading.
You screen hog.
Yeah.
It's your show, man.
Thank you. Production value is very high here. So, you've worked in comics. I've worked in comics. I've never worked for like a major company that would put out like a Disney book or something like that.
Right.
But
me neither.
I've had to fix panels. I've had to redraw over people's work and ink over it to, make it look like things were in there.
Right.
If there is an issue with the way these characters look or are portrayed, and it's probably going to be visually. I don't know the story. I haven't read that book in a while. Okay. So, excuse me. But why can't you just go over and specifically in this digital age, you can update the character's look.
Right.
If you think Bombi the Zombie is a bad name, change it. Why is it that difficult for companies to say, hey, look, there's something bad here. Instead of taking it out, let me make it better. I'll update it.
Update. Yeah.
Yeah. Update it. This is what I don't get.
I think it's just a message that they want to, we're destroying this because it offends somebody somewhere, probably.
Yeah.
So we're just going to make it go away. We're protecting you.
Exactly. I really don't get it. I don't understand.
It's another check on their ESG score, maybe.
And who knows if DuckTales will be taken off Disney Plus now, and both the new one or the old one. I enjoyed both. I love them. When Disney Plus came out, I used to go like once a week and watch something from the Disney afternoon from like my childhood.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It could be Chippendale, it could be DuckTales, but there was a time where I literally watched DuckTales every night. I'd say for 2 weeks straight. I watched like 3 episodes.
Yeah.
How
long did that run? How many seasons did that have?
I'd have to look it up, but I believe technically, I think it was 3 seasons with syndicate, like the way syndication runs in ordering episodes.
Yeah.
But I think it lasted longer technically through.
I know they just played reruns for a long time.
Oh yeah, they played the reruns a lot.
Yeah, I was curious. I think it was around 3 seasons.
I think it was that, because by the 3rd season, that's when you get like Gizmo Duck and Bubba, and all those other characters. But yeah, so this is a crappy thing to hear. Now, Scrooge, I'm not gonna lie to you, my favorite Disney character is Scrooge. Okay, I don't care if he's in Mickey's Christmas Carol or if he's in Duck. I just love Scrooge. I loved his design. I loved when it came to life on the screen, I loved his voice, but I just love the adventure. Here's this guy who's really, really rich, and sure, he does stuff out of greed because he wants more money.
Right.
But at the end, there's always a lesson to be learned, whether it's from him or from his nephews or whoever. Or there's something that shows he actually has a heart and things he cares more about his family than money. There's good lessons.
Right. Every hero needs a weakness. And his is greed.
And exactly. And he has, and they were fun. I don't know if you've ever read Scrooge comics,
No, I mean probably when I was little.
but they're just fun books.
Yeah.
Fun and that's what when I was a kid, before I got into superheroes, I was reading a lot of comic strips.
Hmm.
But before I started actually collecting, I had Scrooge comics. I had, Disney was always okay. You know what I mean? And I didn't really read a lot of comics, but if I was, before I even knew of comic shops, you see one at the supermarket or at the deli or wherever.
Those digest size
Yeah,
ones.
I'd pick stuff up.
Yeah.
I would read them. I love
Hmm.
them. I still have a few from that time. But it was just a great book.
Yeah.
And
There's something else they're
yeah.
knocking down for the sake of doing it.
Yeah. And now we've been going on for an hour and 11 minutes now. We're
But
gonna
who's
go
counting?
the clock, I see.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it, man. Like I said, we normally go for about an hour and a half. If we go a little longer, we might. I don't want to keep you. If you have to go, that's why I was saying the time. If you have to go at any
Right.
point, just let me know.
Okay.
And I'll stay here and complain for the rest until I'm tired of. But
I'm good for a little while more.
this is, I see V2. Okay, do you guys know this site?
Do I know that? No, not
Okay,
really.
let's.
Oh, I do. I know, seen the logo, and I know of it, but
Yeah.
I stay away from it because
Here's the thing. I don't normally go on this site. This was sent in a Facebook group I belong to.
Mhm.
I read the article. It's long. I'm not going to go through it all. But there are things in here that some of the stuff we've already talked about, but they're saying here superhero comics are in a creative rut. Who, if anyone, will fly to the rescue? Right?
Creative rut. What? Really?
Now, they're talking Marvel, DC, at least that's what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, the big two is what everybody looks to for that. You know, they're the big two. What they do, everybody else kind of follows. Most times.
Yeah. Yeah. And let me tell you, the big two haven't been good for a while. I
Yeah,
hate to
long time.
say I do hate to say that because I grew up, reading here's the thing though, it's also sometimes who's in charge.
Yep.
Because I grew up reading during the Jim Shooter era of Marvel.
Hmm.
I don't care what anyone says. That might be the best era of Marvel comics.
I'm with you, man.
And and for all the crap Shooter got, I mean, I'm not going to go into a whole thing about him and all the nonsense and stuff and how people didn't like him and whatever, but and maybe he did some things. I don't know. I wasn't there. That weren't great, but I will say this. I loved everything that was put in front of me during
Everything.
the Shooter times.
Yes.
I there was not one thing I didn't enjoy.
Yep.
So
The guy knows what he's doing, man. He
that's the
knew what he
thing.
was doing.
That's exactly
It's a business. He knew how to do it. And he did it twice, not for nothing.
yeah.
Because Valiant became a great sized company because of his leadership. As far as I know he had other people in there too, but
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, that's
Listen, I'd work for a company Shooter was in charge of right now.
yeah. I actually just set up. I'm setting up an interview with him.
Really?
For not for me to do, but for my good friend Pat. I'm working on
Nice.
having him interview him for.
I've been thinking of
something
reaching
I'm
out to
working on.
him myself and trying to get him on the show. I don't know if he would, but
Hmm.
he's someone I'd like to talk to. Unfortunately, one person that I'd really like to talk to just posted on social media that he will not be doing any podcasts right now, and that's Rob Liefeld.
Oh, really?
He's too busy. Listen, I get it. He, with everything going on, as whatever whatever he does now is unboxing videos. No, I'm kidding. I just
Yeah.
he's the reason I want him on is because like when you listen to him talk about comics, it's like he's 10 years old.
He's still so excited
I
about
know,
it.
and I
And
love that.
yeah, it's very very inspiring.
Yeah.
He kind of gets you like, he's like the coolest a motivational speaker for comic book artists. You know?
You're
Come on.
absolutely right.
And you can do this and you can do that. This is great. Blah, blah.
It's funny, and we'll get to this in a moment because this may come up a little bit. But during the 90s, the image boom, right? Liefeld was part of it, McFarlane was part of it. McFarlane himself, he's someone else I'd like to talk to, because the way I see McFarlane, he is still doing the same book, same character that he started Image with.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a guy who knows how to build a brand, who's determined. This is a man who should be giving the lectures on how comic companies should be run, how they should be made, whatever, like if this guy was talking somewhere, I will listen to him. I want him on my show just because even though I'm not a Spawn fan, I respect the hell out of this man.
Yeah, definitely.
And with Liefeld, though, it's what I just said. You know what I mean? Like they're like almost polar opposites, but they have the same mission.
Mm-hmm.
And you listen to McFarlane talking, he's always like kind of serious.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Mostly very monotone in his interviews and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Very
but
business.
But I'm so intrigued by listening to him.
Yeah.
And I'm intrigued by Liefeld as well. So those are like my two dream guests.
Dream interviews.
Yeah. Anyway.
It could happen. It could happen.
I'm hoping. Superhero comics in a creative rut. Who, if anyone, will fly to their rescue?
Flying is offensive.
Let's
nobody's coming.
I'm going to break this down here. He has some topics here, and we don't have to go through them all, but I just want to let you show you how he organizes articles. So the first one is supply and demand mismatch. Okay. The second is stale creative process. Media saturation.
It's all smoke and mirrors, man.
Yep. Or this is just another passing squall. Now, here's the thing. He focuses on Marvel and DC, and let's see, what did he say? If there are too many books chasing not enough readers, the result of the market slowdown, 2022 saw a 7% increase in the number of monthly titles published by major publishers, according to what's that one? Comicron there, showing the market is gradually recovering from the pre-pandemic levels. But is the reader interest and buying power also increasing to match the new supply? All right.
The thing is, where a lot of this is very disingenuous, is what they forget to say when they're padding the numbers to these stories, saying any kind of recovery is happening in the comics business, because they're not talking about the fact that all the numbers are coming from manga sales.
Yeah.
All Japanese stuff is what's floating the business. It's all coming out of Barnes and Noble, not comic book shops. And American comics are floundering because it's just den of bad stories and virtue signaling. That's all it's become. It's ridiculous.
Oh, exactly. I'm sorry. I went back to this because I'm trying to put the links. I put the link for the other one, the other story, in the comments, and I just put for this one here in the comments. I just put the Don Rosa story so you guys can read it yourself. Okay. Now, I've worked in education for a long time. I still do, but I work remotely now. I'm not in the classroom like I used to be. I've worked with all ages, mostly college level, but I have worked with everything from pre-K.
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, all the way up to college. Here are some of my thoughts. Now, whether they're 100% based in the article, not so much. This is through observation, conversation that I
Wait a
had with
minute.
other professionals.
Wait a minute. You taught pre-K?
I substituted pre-K.
That's
Which,
the hardest job in the world.
let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you guys a short story about working with pre-K. First of all, the best time to work with pre-K is nap time.
Yeah, no
That's
kidding.
the best time. And actually taking them out of the classroom for them to get the bus or to meet their parents, that is not always good. Because when you're a substitute and you got to say, let me know where your parent is so I can see you go so that I know they're not being taken. And they just see their parent and they run, Mommy, whatever. It's like, okay, got to keep track. That's not good. Nap time is the best time. Oh, and lunch when they're out of the room.
Right.
Now, I have a thing about being touched. I don't like people touching me. I don't like to touch. I usually fist bump. I rarely shake hands. It's not a phobia. I have so many medical issues that it's and my immune system isn't the best, that it's more of health reasons.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I do it. But
Sure.
when you're with a pre-K class, they forget that they'll sneeze, not cover, they'll wipe it, they'll want to hug you
right after they sneeze.
And so I always had a thing when I was with in any grade, it didn't matter what grade it was. Mr. Gracia does not touch. Do you want to you want to shake the hand, high five? We'll fist bump. I'm good, and then I'll Purell the hell out of my hand. And this is even pre-pandemic. I'm not. It's
get
not
a bucket to dunk.
Yeah. This is a true story. So I was in this school, and I was subbing pre-K, and this girl had to go to the bathroom, and so did this boy. But the girl asked me first, and the bathroom was in the classroom. I said, "Go ahead to the girl; she can go in." She was in there quite a while, and so I knocked on the door. I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "I need help." I said, "What's wrong?" She goes, "I peed all over my pants." And I said, "Oh." There was an aide in the classroom. She said, "I got it."
Yeah.
Okay. And she helped the girl and took her out of the room to get cleaned up. No, I think she had other clothes and they changed her because they asked them to bring a spare set of clothes. She helped her cleaned up. As soon as that girl came out, the guy the kid who needed to go to the bathroom, it was a boy. He said, "I really need to." I'm like, "Just go." I said, as soon as she was out, just go. I said, "Just run." So he ran into the bathroom, and he's in there for a long time. And I'm like, I knock on the door. I'm like, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine." And I'm like, what did this kid eat? Why is he in there so long?
He's
So
playing in the sink.
I knock on the door. No, the sink's outside the room. But I said, what's wrong? And he goes, "I need help." I'm like, we just had one person who peed all over themselves. And I said, "What help do you need?" And the kid's like, "I need help wiping."
Oh dear Lord.
And I just started going, "Nope, nope, 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 nope." And the nurse, not the nurse, the aide wasn't there.
Oh.
Okay. She just left for break after
taking
the girl. She left for break. I called down to the office and I said, "Yeah, I'm going to need someone in the room, preferably the nurse." And they're like, "What for?" I said, "Kid needs help wiping." Next thing I know, I had like 3 aides come into the classroom.
Okay, we got it.
Because they even said to me, they're like, "What, you couldn't help him?" I'm like, "Nope,
no,
nope, nope,
no,
nope.
Thank you."
Listen, I have 5 nephews. I have not changed the diaper once in my life. And when people ask me how come I never changed any of my nephews' diapers, I say because
they're my nephews.
They're my nephews. When people come over my house, I don't ask you to clean my cat's litter box, do I? No. You chose to have a kid.
Yeah.
So you get to change the diapers. I chose to have a cat. So my wife gets to clean out the litter box.
Your wife.
Well, to be honest, it is true. She does it due to medical issues. For me, I shouldn't be doing that.
Man.
But if I do, I have to glove up and mask up. It's like pandemic thing. So,
oh man.
So she tends to do it more. Anyway, that was a nice little side story. No, but here's the thing. So I've been working with kids for a long time, and when you see them in the second, third, fourth grade, they're reading books like Dog Man.
Yeah.
Catman now, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, those type of books. When they go into middle school, and I'm talking like sixth grade, early middle school, they're reading books like Smile.
Right.
And they're just entering the manga phase. By eighth grade, they are reading manga like Die Hard.
Yeah.
And that's what they stay with. It's rare to see someone, I'd say under the age of 20, reading a superhero story.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now, I don't have kids, and if I did, I would have changed their diaper because I would have chosen to have a kid.
Because it's your kid.
Yeah. Now, what was I going to say? Oh God, I just lost my train of thought. So I was saying about so here's the thing, and this goes to the movies as well. I think some of the problem is in audience and marketing. All right, who are they marketing to?
Right.
How are they marketing to them, and what audience are they trying to hit? Now, let's just take a character like Superman, for example. Everyone knows who Superman is, right?
Yep.
So my dad knows who Superman is. My dad was around when the radio show, I believe, was on. Maybe he was born in 41, so maybe it started before that.
I'm sure they were still playing it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But he was around for that. He was around to see that. So now here's a guy who he's going to be what this year? 82, I think. So my dad's going to be 82 this year. He knows who Superman is.
Yeah.
I know who Superman is.
Right.
If I had a kid, they would know who Superman is.
My kids do.
Yeah. I believe me, I'm sure. But what I'm saying, although if they want to stay under your roof,
yes, they want to get kicked out, then.
But with a character like Superman, he is known throughout the ages, like literally decades, generations know this character. Why do you gotta make a movie that kids can't see or younger kids can't see? Why does he gotta not be the hero we look up to like we used to? Why can't he stand for the same stuff? And if he needs to stand for more, that's fine. But why can't he be a character that if I read the comic, I can go to my 7-year-old nephew and read it with him and he'd enjoy it, or sit down with my dad and he would enjoy it, or we watch a movie that all three of us can sit down. You know what I mean? Like they're not making comics nor movies that take these superheroes and put them in a way that we can all sit down and enjoy them together.
Right. Because I mean there's a huge you could do a whole another show just on that, because that branches into the culture war.
Yeah.
And that's really what this all boils down to. We're not allowed to have heroes anymore to look up to. Everything's got to be taken down. They don't want us to bring these things down to our kids because they don't want the family unit anymore.
Yeah.
And we're just supposed to be single workers without families and just do for the government or whatever they want.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're saying, and
don't hope for anything. So don't have heroes, because
that's kind of
going to happen.
That's kind of what I was gonna say. It's really sad because DC, specifically for me, I always saw DC and Marvel as think of it like angels and demons, if you will. Marvel was more of the demons. Their stuff was darker, had a bit more edge to it. DC always was a bit light. There was always
Yeah.
brightness to it.
Sure.
At least growing up reading what I read, even in some of those books back there are some books that I know got a little darker in the stories, but it's still something, I could sit down and read with other people. And darkness is okay. It's part of life,
Right.
But why
can't the
can't
characters overcome it
exactly? Why
every
can't there be
time?
hope for all those things and show a hero in a way that I want to emulate? Like, okay, everyone makes fun of me for this, but I don't like cursing in superhero movies.
Right.
I specifically when the superheroes do it.
Hmm.
Because I want to have someone to look up to who's better than me. I
Right.
curse regularly in my life.
I don't believe that.
Okay, I'm not as bad as my wife or some other people, but listen, it's part of my natural vernacular to curse. I don't know
Right.
why. It's just I've been doing it. Honestly, guys, I've been cursing since I was in 3rd grade. All right. So what is that? 8 years old I've been cursing.
Yeah.
I just turned 47. It's quite a while. I don't know if I can get out of doing it. All right. But it's especially
Yeah,
if I'm
but
driving. Never drive with me, guys.
yeah, right. All bets are off at that
Yeah.
point.
but that's the thing. It's like I Superman never said bad words. He
Yeah.
never did things that were bad unless
Yeah.
he was under, red kryptonite or something. You know what I mean? Like he
But
wasn't a
now
jerk.
the
So,
whole challenge now for these writers, I should use the air quotes for writers,
don't
instead,
forget editors too.
and editors, is just to darken everything. Everything has to be darker. Everything has to be darker. Ever since, forever ago, like stupid example, but it's true in a lot of things. When the 3rd Harry Potter film came out,
Mm-hmm.
and a friend of mine was like, "Yeah, I'm not really into that stuff. That's for kids." And what I'm like, "Well, that's fine." And he didn't have any, so I'm like, "Well, that's fine. That would be kind of weird if you were into it." But then the 3rd one came and said, "Oh, well, I kind of like it now. It's darker now. It's better. It's more." I'm like, Why does that make it better? I don't understand your thought process here. It's
But
like
isn't that why most people like Empire Strikes Back over like Jedi or the New Hope? Because
that's a good argument, but it's really just a second act in a third act in a 3-act play. If all 3 movies are a triptych, you know what I mean?
I completely understand and get that. Yeah,
So you got to have the characters have to be at their lowest point before they can, Return of the Jedi
completely
on
agree with you.
everybody.
I've actually lectured on this at my college classes about
That's an
that.
awesome. Oh, I would have got an A.
I,
What I like.
I used to show Star Wars in my visual storytelling class, and then we would talk about it and how it follows Joseph Campbell's hero's journey and stuff.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, that's what
Very
my
cool.
tests were on. It was a great class. I missed teaching that class.
Huh.
But yeah, no, but that's the thing. It's like I'm if I had to choose my favorite Star Wars movie, by the way, it's Jedi. I don't care. It's Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Now I have to say Return of the Jedi because they put out that Last Jedi crap. But
the original title was Revenge of the Jedi, but then
yes,
they said you can't do that because
Jedi
Jedi do not seek revenge.
Yes. But yeah, no, it's. I'm trying to think of the word I want to use, but it's
bullshit.
Yes, it's no, but yeah, that I was trying not to curse. I try.
You're the one who curses. You're the one who just said you curse.
I do, but I try not to do it on air. But it's okay. But yeah, no. So yeah, this whole thing in the darkness that we've had some since the 60s and the 70s, and they tried to do things. My God, if you read, was it the Judas Contract, Teen Titans Judas Contract?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that came out when I was like 10, 11 years old. And I was like, what
story,
the
though.
hell is this?
Yeah.
And I read it at, I believe, at my cousin's house. I didn't start collecting till I was 13, almost 14 years old.
Mm.
And my cousin had a bunch of comics. That's how I read Crisis on Infinite Earths. And that's what brought me into the world. It was like, I used to, when I'd be at his house, I would sit down and read his comics. But yeah, I mean, like that was dark and that was messed up.
Yeah.
Okay. And they, and there were other stuff. And it's like when DC decides to go dark, they go really dark.
Yeah.
What was the one, Identity Crisis? Where is that the one where Dr. Light?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. If you guys don't know what I'm
Does
talking
something
about,
really bad.
yeah. Like it's like, wow, DC, you go really dark.
That was super dark. But the
But
story was great. It was a
a
great
good story. It was a good
and
story.
like a detective story.
Yeah.
Which was really entertaining. I was actually looking forward to getting what was next. I was like, this is great. I was really enjoying that.
No, I completely agree with you. But getting back to the point of the 90s is, and this might be in response to Image and all the great stuff they were doing, but Image had a lot of darkness, specifically with Spawn.
Yeah.
And I think every company needed to learn how to compete. And so what happens? We get Superman killed.
Right.
Batman gets his back broken. Spidey's a freaking clone. Who knows if he's still or not?
Yeah.
Being, we find out that, not what we find out. Wolverine gets his adamantium ripped from him. The Thing has part of his skull, ripped off. He had some, what's it called? Some of his stone ripped off, and you saw like this red meat muscle or something underneath.
Wow, I missed that.
There was a scene. Oh, like every character, Dr. Fate, what happens? There's a new character with it. He becomes Fate, and he melts down the helmet and turns it into like magical ankhs or something. And instead of having the capes all torn up and wrapped around his arm, and everybody just got dark for the sake
super dark.
being dark. And I still see people thinking the 90s was the best era of comics. And although there were some good things that did happen, specifically Kyle Rayner from the Green Lantern Corps, he's become one of my favorites. But he was an interesting character. He just gets a ring thrown at him and says, "Hey, you're a Green Lantern now. See you later."
Stop doodling.
Yeah. and that was the thing. And then he finds his girlfriend in the refrigerator from, was it Mongol, I think?
Yes, that's right.
My God, like the stuff that happened.
Yeah.
Tim. So there was a lot of dark stuff going on in the comics, and some of it made for good story, but I always wondered when the light was coming back, and it was hard to see that.
Now, once you start with that, it's just how are they going to top themselves next and push the envelope. And that's really all. It's like a one note that they only know how to do that until the new trend, which is now make everybody a different person, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's their one trick now.
Here's the thing, and I've said this on the show. Jonathan Kent's character, they made him gay.
Yeah.
Now,
strictly for headlines.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing. When they were promoting Jonathan Kent's book, they never talked about the story. They just talked about him being gay.
That's all they ever do with that.
So because I don't care if my character is gay or not, I want to know what's going on in the story, and is it worth spending the $4.99 to read a book these days?
It doesn't matter, because if you don't spend it just on the fact that the character's gay, then you're a bigot.
Well,
and give them your $5.
Yeah. Well, it's that's not how I work. Sell me on the story. Sell me on the damn story, and I'll buy. But you know what? I read a book. I forget which one it was. It might have been part of Dark Crisis or something. And he was a great character. I thought he was really good. The way they handled him in that book.
Jonathan Kent?
Yeah, Jonathan Kent.
Okay, yeah.
I thought he was a really good character, the way they handled him. And if I didn't get it thrown in my face that he was gay, and you told me what his story was about, and it was a good
It's a different
story,
story. Right.
I would have spent the money.
Yeah.
That's it.
But
I just would have spent. You would have had my $5. But speaking of $5, books are average between $3.99 and $7.99 these days.
yeah. Yep.
Okay. I was in the grocery store a couple weeks ago, and because I usually do a lot of ordering now,
Right.
but I'm down to one car at the moment. So
Yeah.
I was in the grocery store, and eggs, they were
Oh,
over $10 for a dozen eggs.
yes.
Now, I don't have kids, but I need to eat. You
Yeah.
have kids. Would you rather spend the $10, $11
Yeah.
on 2 comic books that you're going to read in 15 minutes and toss in a box, or a dozen eggs where you can start feeding yourself and your family and make stuff?
Um.
Oh, that was a hard one for you. I don't know. I know you have
I have issues, literally.
yeah. Well,
But
I know you have I don't remember how many kids you have, but you have a decent set.
4.
4? Okay.
Yep. Yep. And they all love eggs.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
Exactly.
But that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. You got to make
you
real
got to make
life choices.
so. What was I gonna say? So, like, I feel financially, books aren't worth it right now.
No, they're not.
The stories aren't good enough because of things like we were just talking about.
Nope.
They're not worth it.
And the only issue that sold in that whole run was the one where they made the big reveal,
Mhm.
and everything else tanked. Everything
Yeah.
else stunk, and they
Well,
kept.
it went down. Yeah. I read that after that it started going down after
Then it tanked,
the
and then they
following issue.
canceled it. They canceled it, and then the guy's trying to spin it. To say it was never supposed to be an ongoing
Yeah.
series. Really, we're
Well,
gonna change everything, and we meant to do that. Well, like, get out of
well,
here.
he's supposed to have a mini series this year. I read.
Yeah,
So I don't know, but you know what?
I can't wait to not buy that too.
But here's my thing, and they're always, like you said, they're lumping in manga into that, which is a completely different storytelling.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, like, for example, in American comics, we focus more on plot.
right.
In manga, it's character driven, and and the stories could change even on the whim of the creator.
Yeah,
Um, so if a character gets popular in the sense of whatever, whether it's a side character or the main character, they get popular enough, they could just sit there and do nothing in the book
hmm
except talk
yeah.
and be like, hey, I'm just having a cup of coffee this issue with my friend,
And
and we're talking
everybody's cool with that.
and they're
Everybody's
great
cool
with
with
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a little slice of life,
yeah,
and it breaks it up. But in American comics, which is what most of us are used to, although, by the way, I do read manga. I just
oh, so
got
do I.
I
I
got
love. I'm a big
um
One Piece fan.
that's a good one. I haven't read that in a while, but I just picked up this one here, issue 2 of The Promised Neverland.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
this I've heard about. I never read it. I read number 1, and I'm like, wow, this is setting up to be a really good story. I know this is more, I guess, what do you consider this? More teen or young adult,
okay.
but because I don't know if you've read it, but
No,
basically, I'm not going to give away the story, but it's a set of orphans who live on this, live in an orphanage, and when they reach a certain age, they have to leave.
okay.
They find 3 of them discover something about what happens to them when they leave, and now they're trying to plan their escape because they're the oldest and they're on their
Uh,
way, but they also at the same time want to save the rest of the children because they don't want them to grow up to have what the possibility
oh, very
to
cool.
have. So, and
Yeah,
and you know what? I don't like horror movies. I said that multiple times.
yeah.
This I would not watch as an anime because it would scare the crap out of me. Okay. But when I see it in pictures, um, I'm not scared of pictures
Right.
because they're not moving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I saw this in a manga or in a movie with you know
Yeah.
CG characters or whatever,
That can creep you right out.
going to sleep, seeing the shadows passing, on the walls, and
Hmm.
getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom because we're at the age. But like just the shadows. Like, do you even want to? Like, that's my mind plays the crazy ass tricks on me.
Yeah.
With that, too much of a vivid imagination.
Mm.
So I will read horror. I don't want to see it move. Um. Anyway, but anyway, we're sitting here and they're talking about the creative process next. I'm not going to go into that. Listen,
There is
you
no
make
creative
books.
process for these guys nowadays.
That's the problem is
They can only
people
destroy, they can't create.
they don't understand story
Right.
who are in charge now, at least from my point of view and the stuff that I've read.
Yeah.
I don't read a lot of mainstream stuff these days. I pick it up once in a while.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but from what I see in articles, I'll even watch YouTube videos. There's a guy, I forget his name right now, otherwise I'd be happy to promote him. He's a big channel anyway, but he'll take the words out of the comics and he'll go and just read the comics basically and do voices and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And so sometimes I'll be like, oh, you know what? I'm just working and I don't need to pay attention to, I just want to hear a story.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll just throw something like that on because I'm just listening to the characters talk.
Mhm.
And so that's how I learn about a lot of this stuff. And I'm just like, these people, it's like they don't understand who they're writing for. Like they never grew up on the character. They've heard of
Right.
them maybe.
Yeah, they're just teaching us a lesson.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the other thing. It's like and I hate to say this because I'm all for diversity. I'm all for inclusion and stuff. I just want good stories. I just don't care about
But that is the story to them. That
yeah,
is the story.
that
That's
is
it.
the problem. It's I want a good story.
It's
Our
like when
lives.
people have to constantly retell an origin story.
Yeah.
Every time a Spider-Man thing comes out, you got to see the scene where he gets bit by the spider, as if everyone's forgotten.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with that. It's like you have to keep getting it drilled into your head. This is normal. This is normal. But guess what? It's not.
Yeah.
So
It's
sorry.
No, it's okay. Listen, I'm doing most of the talking, I think, and I like my guests to do that.
No, that's good. We're having a good.
I just have a lot to bitch about, I think.
That's good. We should have the complain stream. I'll
Yeah.
come back and we'll
Oh,
grumpy old man stream.
if I didn't live in a co-op, I'd be telling people to get off my lawn. But it's owned by a bunch of other people here.
Should do it anyway. Do it anyway.
They're part owners too.
Say, can I yell at everyone on your behalf and have them sign a piece of paper? Get off my lawn.
But
get off our collective lawn.
That'd be great. But yeah, no, it's, and I don't know how long it's been going on for, but these are what is decreasing the sale. It's the poor storytelling.
Yes.
It's the like, okay, here's the thing, like with the movie She-Hulk, with Captain Marvel, any of those type of movies, right? What I don't like, the way they're handling female leads at the moment, because they didn't always do this,
right,
is that they got to weaken the male characters or make them look like buffoons.
Yes, every time.
When we watched Batman versus Superman, right? Wonder Woman was in there. Right. Her and Superman were equals.
Yeah,
in that story.
Cool
if we go back to shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Xena
Yep.
from those times. We had strong female characters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had what was that show? Veronica Mars, which I never watched, but I've heard a lot of great things about. You know, we have great characters in the world of sci-fi. We can look
Totally.
at any show from science fiction, whether it's Star Trek or, you know, Star Wars or whatever.
You remember Farscape?
Oh, I love Farscape.
3 strong female characters in
Yes.
one cast.
Yeah.
All great.
Yeah.
All great.
They were fantastic.
And
But
none overshadowed the other. They were like a great team.
yeah.
Very cool show.
No, I still watch it. There's a like in the oldies section of the cable, they'll do like 2 or 3 episodes of
Oh God,
Farscape.
oldies. What?
I don't know what to call it. They show reruns of like Family Ties too and things.
I know we're
but
old, dude, but Jesus.
That's the section we're in now, man.
Huh.
I just listen. I'm 3 years away from 50. That is,
I'm 3 years away from
you're 3 years away from 50 as
just
well.
about 4. Just about 4.
But
On the other side.
yeah.
On the AARP side.
Hey, listen, you can get an AARP anytime. But like, you know, they'll show them on those, like, and they'll show like the old shows, and you know, Stargate SG-1's on there, and they'll show all
Another one
these.
that had strong female characters too.
Loved
And they weren't assholes.
Yeah. And you know what? SG-1 is my favorite science fiction of all time.
Yeah.
My favorite. I will put that above Star Wars, especially after all the other crap came out.
Yeah, for sure.
But and then Farscape. Honestly, Farscape was great. And then I'd probably put Firefly, which had great characters in there.
Love that.
And you know, I was they were just showing it on that channel I was telling you about. And they were showing I don't know, just lots of stuff. But like, I watched these and I'm like, why did they write awesome stuff there, even though it could be a little cheesy for the era?
Yeah.
But why are they writing great characters here, but they can't do it now? Like, that was one of my other problems with She-Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, was they now I had a conversation last week with someone at the reception for that art show I told you I was in at Poe Park, and the Bronx guys go see it. And they loved it, and they said there was all this great stuff that happened after, but they also weren't as familiar with the character from the comics as I am.
Right.
And I've been seeing this trend going on everywhere, you know, in everything.
Mm-hmm. Even commercials.
Yeah.
Commercials too. Same thing.
And there's, you know, I get it. Female empowerment. Great. Let them be the hero. Awesome. But why do you got to write it in a way?
Why do you have to knock down the guy?
But also, and I hate this term, but some of them become Mary Sue's.
Right.
Captain Marvel, they wrote her as a Mary Sue. She was always a strong female character. Even like, oh, you could do this because you're a woman. You could fly, even though you're not allowed to fly, you're going to fly this, you know? And then, she's always fighting, always being tough.
Mm-hmm.
And then she unlocks the power of the suit that was always in her.
Right.
You know? And then she even just kicks more butt.
Great.
You know, it was like there was no character development for her to become the hero that we would want. Now, I remember her as Miss Marvel. Okay, back in the late 70s, early the books I was reading.
Mm-hmm.
And I even remember her when she traveled with Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
You know, it was it was
Marvel.
When he was Marvel. Yeah. It was almost like a Doctor Who type of thing.
Right.
Where he traveled, she was a companion, but there was a love interest with it. They eventually, had a relationship. And when the explosion happened and the powers got transferred into her,
mm-hmm.
What happened? She ended up taking the name Miss Marvel. Why? Basically because, Captain Marvel. It was It was in a way to honor, because that, if I
Right.
remember correctly, that was the explosion that gave him the cancer eventually, that killed him, right? That's how they wrote it.
Honestly, I don't remember that.
I think
I didn't read that.
there
That
was
much.
I can see the panel in my head. There was an explosion. She was behind him, and what happened was his powers got absorbed.
Okay.
So changing Marvel in the movie to a female, basically to say you're a strong female, you can do whatever you want, I thought was dumb, because there could have been the idea of motivation of love, or love lost,
Sure.
which I think is much stronger than, hey, you're a woman, you could do anything.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
But even
I
that storyline nowadays would not be allowed because she had gotten her powers, even though indirectly she got them from a man. So that's not
yeah,
allowed anymore.
no, I know.
That's why
That's why they
this,
changed it.
that's why the story in She-Hulk couldn't be her getting the blood transfusion from Banner as it was in the comic,
Yeah,
because she's being saved by a male, and
yeah,
that's a no-no. This is ridiculous.
yeah. So they made it look like an accident,
Yeah, yeah,
which was a cheesy accident, by the way.
yeah. uh,
Yeah, so I mean, like, that's where you just look at Princess Leia. She just needed a door open.
right.
The door. She got a gun in her hand. What is she? She was the one who blasted the grate so they can escape.
Yeah,
She was the one who really saved them. They just opened the damn door.
yeah. True.
you
Give the lady a gun. There we
Yeah,
go.
and she was fine.
Yeah.
Like, she was able to hold her own. That's it. Like, people don't get it. And I don't want to sit and complain and bitch about this nonstop, that it's this women, or it's this, agenda pushing, whatever. But obviously sales are hurting. People aren't buying books. Comic stores are closing. My
Yeah.
favorite store, which was in Yonkers, over here, which doesn't matter. I can't give you the address anymore. They don't exist. Was the Spider's
Rest
Web.
in peace, Spider's Web. Rest in peace.
Yes. You were they were one of the best stores, and it was, excuse me, it's because they loved comics as the medium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They were not only sellers, they were fans.
Had many a great conversation in there with those guys.
Absolutely. Paul and Andrew were fantastic. And I'm going to throw Gene into the mix, because Gene was
Gene
there
was
helping.
cool.
Gene's
Yeah.
awesome.
Good guy.
And Paul, he loved the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul is the owner, by the way. Andrew was basically the manager, and Gene helped out there. But they supported independent artists. Half their store was independent books.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was, DC at the end. Next to it was Marvel. Then it was all Image, Boom, Scout. What you name the indie company, it was basically
it was there. Yep.
It was there. They would bring in artists and writers and anyone to do signings there.
Yeah, the little tables and that setup. They would do that almost
events. They'd bring artists in. Their
every couple
Halloween.
months.
You were there once for them?
I was there a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish we were at the same one. I've
Yeah.
always done a few things. New comic book day, not new comic day. What is it? Free comic book day. Like, there were always events going on, and there was times I even did, like, on a Sunday when it was slow, I would do workshops for kids.
Mm.
And they really loved it. And I'll tell you, they were clean. They modeled their store after Midtown Comics in the city, in New York City, guys, if you're familiar with it. It was a very clean store, full of a lot of friendship in there, a lot of love of the sharing of the stories. I mean, if you like, I would go in and I would say to Andrew, who knew my taste in comics, and I'd be like, is there anything in DC worth picking up?
Yeah.
And I'd say the same thing to Gene. And they would say, you would like this, this, and this right now.
Yeah.
Or don't touch them. Like, and I know I was friends with them. Still am. I'm just saying.
Sure.
I was a friend. but it wasn't like they were forcing me into purchasing books where it's like, oh no, you're going to like this, this, and this, and they were getting sales. They legitimately thought of their customers. If they knew you and knew your taste, they would recommend or say, don't pick something up.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it wasn't
They were good.
yeah, and they're closed, but, and I'll be honest, I didn't ask Paul why or anything, but I'm going to tell you, a lot of it probably had to do with this.
Yeah.
Had to do with, you know what, this, these books aren't selling. How does he compete with Barnes and Nobles? How does he compete with Amazon or all these other stores where people can buy trades, which he had a very large selection of? But nobody's buying floppies. And again, I think it comes to the price, it comes to the story, but also marketing. How many people actually know that all these superheroes they see on TV and in the movies are actually comic books that they can go read and take their stories with them wherever?
Yeah. I doubt they know.
Yeah, because they don't promote it that way. They'll do a little maybe introduction of, with the Marvel with all the stuff flashing.
Yeah, that's all you
That's
get.
all they do. They don't say, hey, you know what, if you really like what you saw, you can go to your local comic shop and pick this up. Support your local comic shop. Put up the number for the comic shop finder. Like do things to make sure people know these things. You have a giant movie theater screen where people are, you have what, literally hundreds of people in a theater at once. You know how many people you can, and you're showing this show 5-6 times a day, a week. Boom.
Yeah, they don't care. That's the point. They've strip mined everything with all the remakes, the reboots of stuff that was already great from the 80s and 90s. They've done pretty much everything at this point. So now what do they have left? That all the stuff that they've crapped on since forever ago. The old excuse was we can't really do the effects to the point where it'll look convincing yet. So we can't really do that. Superhero movies or whatever. But honestly, they thought they were garbage. They didn't care. They it's like a popcorn movie or whatever. They consider it garbage. They're too good for that. But now they can see what kind of money it makes, and suddenly they're super interested. But it's got to go like this. It's got to, we got to take this guy. I love the character, but let's do this with him. Make it a little more updated, and that's just code for bad ideologies thrown on film.
But that's why Hollywood and other entertainment is failing. Comics are supposed to be escapism,
right?
And any type of entertainment technically is supposed to be escapism. Even if you watch a football game, which I didn't do this weekend, just so you guys know.
Me neither.
I don't watch sports, but that's escapism for some people.
Right.
That gets them out of their mind and their head, and they watch people play a game that they enjoy. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
If that's what they like. Me, I like to have a comic book in my hand. I like to,
same here.
Watch another movie or something that, like I'm not gonna lie, I watched some Lord of the Rings that day.
Yeah.
My birthday was Friday. I'd spent it doing each day a different, one of the Lord of the Rings trilogy on HBO, and I did the extended, versions. So
sweet.
Yeah, and I didn't finish on Sunday. I fell asleep. I'm not gonna lie. But I had a long Saturday that sitting down on Sunday was like resting, and everything just kind of hit me,
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? But yeah, no, I mean, that's my escapism. Now, when I'm reading comics, I understand you got to write things that people can relate to. So you're going to write about things going on in life. Okay. But if you're reading a superhero comic, it's about the hero. It's about the action. It's about the adventure. It should be a small slice of life piece that maybe you can relate to or get an insight of the character on.
Sure.
The books.
Who couldn't relate to Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn and some other random chick getting in a three-way kissing contest? Happens every day, right?
Not at my house.
Slice of life.
Uh,
It's for
but
kids, everybody.
yeah,
It's for
exactly,
kids.
exactly. Um,
Did we
hold on.
save the industry? I don't know.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Did we save the industry yet?
Yeah, not yet.
No. Okay.
I'm hoping we will soon before this is over.
We got a lot of work
But
to do.
but it's the comics today, I feel, are what they're trying to do is do more slice of life and less action, less adventure, less
Right.
super. You know?
But it's slice of life that's like, I mean, come on. It's all self-inserts and of unhappy people. And it's
Yeah,
like, I don't need to see that you're Starfire's fat ugly daughter and everyone you hate everybody. You know?
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
nobody cares. It's
I
ridiculous.
I I agree 100% with you.
And the
It's
sales don't lie.
yeah,
Uh,
it's but you know it's how do you fix this? How do what needs to happen is they need a good firing of people. They need to.
yeah.
I hate to say, listen, anybody who's working in the art field, I don't want to knock. I believe if you got a job there, you've earned it.
Yeah, you got to draw. You draw. You
Yeah,
draw what you're told to draw. That's the
yeah.
being a gunslinger artist. You know,
It's
that's
the
how it
same
is.
thing. It's the same thing in movies, though. You're told what to make and what
Right.
to do.
Yeah.
But the people in charge usually aren't the creative people.
Right.
Usually don't understand how actually the process works. They understand how to. Here's my money. What are you going to do with it?
Right.
And how do I get more of that back? You know. So what would have to happen is, I think, editors and writers specifically, you can't blame artists right now because they're drawing what they're told.
Right.
But you could look at also the styles that are popular, and are they really worth keeping around?
Mm-hmm.
Can they do something else? Now, I'm not saying we need big, muscles and all that stuff. Like I don't need to see another run of 90s.
Right.
I wasn't as I look back, I wasn't as big as a fan as I thought I was in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually probably my least favorite era of comics.
Yeah, I wasn't that huge
Yeah.
at that point. Yeah, I kind of dialed it back at
Um,
that point.
yeah. By the time I
So,
left high school, the only thing I was really reading regularly was Green Lantern and Superman.
right.
Um, and it's I don't know. I think we need to. It's like a little cleaning house.
Yeah, definitely.
People need to go. We
Mm.
need to bring in, whether they're young, people, or people in the past who have a proven track record, who's maybe not working. I'm not saying like Jim Shooter or anything, although again, I'll buy anything that he's part of.
Yeah.
But like somebody who understands the storytelling, who understands what makes a good story, what makes a good comic. Once you get rid of the people who are trying to basically change our minds, change our political point of views, change
Mm-hmm.
anything. And it's the same thing with the movies. I mean, to be honest, you don't think Velma was put
It's
out for that reason?
That's exactly why.
Yeah,
It's exactly right.
it's so. And I'm not saying you need to keep politics out of comics, because they've always kind of been there in a way. And some comics are really based around it.
Yeah. I mean, but kind of is a lot different than in your face
Yeah,
activism.
yeah.
It's like ridiculous.
Exactly. I mean, listen, everyone did it. I mean, when you go back and look at what Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams did with Green Lantern and Green Arrow,
Yeah.
that was basically creating a liberal and a conservative together, and having them kind of just
Go at it.
go, yeah, exactly, go
Yeah.
at it, and have different points of view and stuff. But I making Green Arrow that liberal was a great idea.
Mm.
And excuse me, it was needed for the era.
Right.
but that was a politically driven book. And I'm trying to think of some others I could pull, but it
Well,
was
I
a
mean, everyone uses X-Men as an example
yeah,
of that. The whole, allegory of racism and everything. You know, anti-mutants,
yeah, yeah,
all that stuff.
and
Which was at least was a creative way
mm,
of doing something political. Now it's just like, I mean, John Kent walking with a picket sign saying "Save the planet." It's like, what?
yeah.
Really?
But let me ask you this, and this is something I wanted to ask you getting into this conversation here is, do you think the time for superheroes is over? Is there another type of story that will take over and open our minds in escapism?
Mm, I don't know, man. That's tough to say. I mean, as far as the American comics go, it looks like the end of the superhero era is upon us. But I think it's because of what we've been talking about, because the stories are garbage. There's no hope. There's no positive
Mm,
character uh, building anymore. I think if they actually did that again, like they used to, I think they'd be surprised by the turnout, and
yeah,
I think sales would be climbing again. You know, but nobody cares to do that now. It's so it seems. At least people in power aren't letting anybody do that. It
yeah,
seems everyone has to have check their boxes. Make sure all the political leanings are in the correct direction,
yeah,
and that's all they care about. There's
yeah,
there's no fun and story anymore, and I can't bring my kid to the store anymore because the books have no rating on it, and I got like a makeout session between characters
yeah,
that I wouldn't want her to see if it was a hetero
yeah, yeah.
couple doing it either, because this is kid in comic books. I don't, it's ridiculous. It has nothing to do with the story,
Mm,
and it's just there just for to make this invisible customer happy that they think that they have, but they're not buying anything. The people
and
they're catering to don't buy anything.
that's exactly what I was going to say. It's I could go into
It's all
my
just
long, lengthy bitch fest about cosplayers and how when they go to shows, they don't spend money, yet they think they're the celebrities.
yeah, they just want to find a place to pose and take their
Yeah,
pictures, and
just
then
not in front of my table, guys.
yeah,
That's
yeah, seriously,
listen. I listen. I have friends who are cosplayers. I when they work, as someone who has built puppets and built props
mm.
for like puppet shows and things, I respect the work that goes into making a
Oh, of
costume.
course,
I
sure,
respect the work that goes making into all the, you know, gear and whatever they're doing. I think that's fantastic. Some days I actually miss doing things like that and
yeah,
wish I could. I just will never cosplay. It's not my thing.
yeah,
Um, but I don't think just because you look good in a Batgirl costume, you need to, you know, you need to be the star of the show. When you pay $50 to get in for a weekend pass and I pay $300 plus for my table for the weekend,
right,
plus travel costs, plus food, plus
mm-hmm,
lodging, possibly, plus
yeah,
all the extra fees, printing costs, all the stuff that went into everything. That $300 table cost me probably $1,000.
yep, right,
And because you're there blocking my table, I can't make my $1,000 or more,
right,
you know? Um, and I also don't like with cosplayers when they don't, I want them to create original characters. Create a character, tell a story like Father Evil, man. Like Father Evil, if he's big in the New York, New Jersey area. He's hosted horror cons, but one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. But he created a demonic priest And that's all he did. He went to shows dressed as a demonic priest, and eventually he became known, you know?
I'm more of a fan of Out of Work Skeletor.
Yeah, I know. But the thing, I've actually spoken to Father Evil. I've never spoken to Out of Work.
I'm just
No, there's stuff. There's funny. The woman who dresses as old Wonder Woman. You know, I don't know if you've seen her. I think she has like a walker.
I've seen the heavy bearded dude dressed as Wonder Woman
I thankfully haven't.
walking around New York Comic Con every
Let
year.
me tell you something. The freakiest cosplay I ever saw was, God, it's pre-pandemic, because I haven't been to New York Comic Con in a few years.
Yeah, me neither.
And there was this kid, because they had parents, and I was talking to the parents, and they turned their head, and I turned my head looking, and this little kid is dressed up as the guy from Saw. I don't remember his name, with the mask.
Yeah, Jigsaw,
and is riding a tricycle.
That's awesome.
And as it's coming down New York, it's coming down the floor.
Everyone's looking.
And I see it. I'm like, oh my God, that is not that was like a memory because it was coming right at me.
That's awesome. That's
So
great.
That was creepy to me. And yeah. Anyway, let's get back, just because we're gonna have to end soon. We've hit the over 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
No, but there's just a couple of more points I want to hit. So this one says media saturation. We've kind of talked about that. Stale creative process, we've talked about. And we've talked about the money. With the going into the marketing again.
Right.
And I'm just gonna stop the share. We don't need to look at this anymore. What do you think of focusing on digital work over print, with the audience being digital these days? Even us. I mean, my phone's right here charging next to me. You can't see. There it is. My phone's charging next to me. I have my computer here, my iPad's behind me, my Surface is behind me. We're all on devices constantly.
Yet
people are striving for print print books.
Guess it was pretty much out of business, right? That Amazon web comics.
Yep, Comixology. Comixology is done. But at the same time, and listen, I know you just put out a print book. I'm not knocking that. I am, I love print. I'd rather read print than digital.
Yeah. Well, we're old.
Yeah. Yes, we are,
as we've established.
But at the same time, what was I going to say? We are on our devices. I have a bunch. I literally have over 100 digital comics. I know that.
Yeah.
And I go back and I reread them because they're on my phone and my iPad. And when I travel, I can sit and look at that. If I'm on a train or just, hey, I'm out having a cup of coffee and I'm by myself and I'm just going to read a comic.
Yeah, I mean, for that kind of convenience, I could see that, but I don't see anybody who really loves reading comics really caring about digital at all. It's like everything else with digital. You're told that you're buying this thing, but you don't own that thing. That's not yours. That's yours until somebody decides to yank it. A license ends. Suddenly they decide it's offensive, so it won't exist anymore. And then where's your book that you paid for digitally? It doesn't exist anymore because the provider doesn't have that, because now Scrooge McDuck is a problem. So because he's a white privileged duck. So no more digital Scrooge McDuck for you, and it just can't exist anymore. So that's why I'm always a big cheerleader for physical media. I'm the cranky old guy, and I say physical media, keep it.
Yeah.
Don't
Man,
throw it
listen,
out.
I'm not knocking it. I want print books. I mean, my
Yeah. Oh,
studio
I know.
is covered in books.
Yeah.
I mean,
But just for
bookshelves.
that, just for the fact of that, it's a control thing. It's like you can't, you buy something, you own it, it's yours. You
Yeah.
can do with it as you will. If you love it, keep it, buy an extra copy for yourself or whatever. Um, but digital, you could say that you bought it, but you didn't really buy anything. You're borrowing it for, you're paying
Yeah.
to borrow something until they
Yeah.
decide you can't have it anymore. And that to me is not an
I
attractive sale.
I understand. I understand. Now here's the reason I'm asking.
Mhm.
In addition, number one, kids are reading webtoons, adults are reading webtoons. Uh, they are reading other comic websites.
Mhm.
Nothing I'm going to announce on the air because I don't promote. Not that I wouldn't promote them. I just don't need to promote everybody.
Right, right.
Um, and not without some money or sponsorships in some way, guys. You'll find you give me money, I'm quite the whore. Don't worry, I'll promote you. Uh,
Oh, capitalism. Gotta work to live.
um, but if I can sell a PDF, okay, because you were saying how if they stop, they take a license. If I was to say I did a 20-page comic, I
Right,
say I want 99 cents, a dollar. Give me a buck. You got a comic that's on your phone now or wherever forever because it's PDF.
right, right.
You know, and you can always open it until Adobe says we're not allowing you anymore. Um, you know, so now you may not have a physical, but now you have 20 pages that you can read at any point, at any
Hmm.
time. If you were to learn, if we could figure out how to advertise properly, because when we were young, comics were in the grocery stores, they were in delis, they were everywhere. You could
Right, yeah.
find them.
The newsstand
Yeah, the newsstand,
version. Yeah.
and now you have specialty shops, and if you don't have one in your area, how do you get comic books? Barnes Nobles only has trades. Amazon
Right.
doesn't really sell issues like from their warehouse. It's somebody using Amazon as their storefront,
Hmm.
you know?
Right.
Um, so don't I'm just curious because digital is something I'm experimenting. I've been actually bitching about digital comics like since the 90s, but back in the 90s I was talking motion comics.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was saying we got to get into motion comics. We got to get into motion comics. Motion comics was a hit for like a week, and,
Hmm.
and then they disappeared.
Yeah.
But I love motion comics. I would watch them still.
Mm.
Um, but now it's digital PDFs. It's all this stuff. Don't you think if you're, let's say you're in a restaurant with your family, you have 4 kids. I don't know their ages, but let's say you have one that's maybe 8 years old. It's being a bit of a pain that day,
Right.
right? But you give them your phone, tell them to stop. They see an ad pop up for a comic. It's a dollar. They want to read it. Would you pay a dollar to shut them up for 20 minutes?
I mean, thankfully, I don't have to because YouTube is free,
Yeah.
and that's all they ever want to do is watch idiots on YouTube.
I think that's the big thing for kids right now. But I
Or
mean, come on, think about it.
I say no TikTok, please. That's rotting your brain, like my
Yeah,
parents said about
but
TV.
I'll go watch it and spend an hour and a half before bed.
Just
Just,
flipping.
yeah. Although you guys can follow me, it's at Michael Gracia. I have some videos up.
Aha! You're part of the problem, is what you're
Oh
saying.
yeah, I am. I am. That's all I ever am is part of a
That's all
problem.
right. That's all right. That's all good.
And listen, there's like
No,
eight or nine videos up. It's not a lot. I'm not a big problem.
if I really thought that it would keep my kids' interest, then yeah, I probably would. Um, but I've actually offered that a few times, and thankfully, maybe it's biology or something because they're my kids. But they were like, "Can we just go to the comic book store when you go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go. Come on, that'll be great."
Yeah.
And they don't care about. I mean, a couple I know follow a few digital comics, but again, it's more of a manga.
Yeah.
I think they're not American comics. They
So
find the stories more intriguing.
so do you think American comics should take a look at manga and start following their model, or do you think I'm just curious because I don't want the world just to become manga. I love
Yeah,
European comics,
yeah,
the
I love the
Franken-Belger,
differences. The differences
yeah,
are amazing, and it's really important that everybody. I like the fact that everybody has their own style, and
yeah,
you know there's no Mobius in America, that I know of.
yeah,
But no, I think they just need to stop doing the stuff that they're doing and just get back to actual storytelling. Uh, bring back the hero's journey. Just tell stories, make characters likable
yeah,
again, and not just insufferable snot bags who are great at everything and everyone else is stupid around. You can't. They're not likable. None of these characters are likable as
yeah,
people, and that's I think my biggest thing for storytelling, and I hope I can reflect that in my own stories, uh, is just likable characters. You have to like
yeah,
them.
yeah. I'm trying to follow a very old school model right now. So as you know, I'm drawing the Wiz,
Yeah,
but I have some comic stories in me, and a lot of the stuff I write because I have a background in animation, where I kind of have a slant towards it could be animated,
hmm
you know. Um, and although I am going to be starting an animation project soon, I think on the weekends I'm going to focus on animation and spend Monday through Friday on comics.
hmm.
Um, but what was I going to say? But I what I want to do is I just want to do short stories. I want to keep them simple. I
Yeah.
don't want to do these long story arcs anymore. Although I have a few that I will eventually do. But I'm looking at the old like Hanna-Barbera cartoons, the
Oh yeah.
old like Space Ghost and Herculoids,
Hell
and
yeah.
you have a simple story. You have a hero who has a sidekick. And it doesn't always have to be a sidekick in my story, but I'm saying there's a hero.
hmm
You have a character like a sidekick because you need someone to get in trouble.
Right.
There's the villain who has just whatever plan I'm going to take over the universe. Like there's literally then the hero comes save and they got to fight off whatever henchmen, monsters, whatever, until they get to the main villain, fight the villain, save the
hmm
day type of thing, right? I'm basically following that pattern. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
And like I do remember there's always one scene in a Space Ghost. I don't remember if it was a classic or if, when they redid him in the 80s. But he fought robot space sharks. And I'm like, I freaking love that.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
so upset I didn't come up with it because I can't use it. And I just
Yeah.
remember him blasting, and there were these little sharks with like like robot antennae or whatever. They were metal coming
Yeah.
out of the
Yeah.
spaceship. And I'm like, dude, I want this. So like, I'm looking at more of here's a 6-page short story, here's an 8-page short story, maybe a 12-page, and just do that. And
Yeah.
then I got 3 stories that I planned, actually 4 that are long format stories that I think I'm trying to figure out how to make them shorter and just kind of like chapter them
hmm
in a
Yeah.
way that okay, 8 pages for this chapter, 5 pages for this chapter, so and I won't call them chapters, but I'm just trying to figure out how to take the large amount of information I have and try to bring it down to maybe a 50-page book at the most.
Wow, that'd be
you know
great.
I don't want to go, and you know what, 2 of them were based on remakes of TV series.
Mm.
What I do sometimes is, and so you can call it fan fiction or whatever, but I've been, as someone who's been part of pitches, who has written, when I write other people's stuff, I say, well, if I was to revamp this, if I was to have the license, how would I handle it? So I
Mm.
don't like write fan fiction as, oh, here's this character in love with this character or whatever. I'm actually rebranding or revamping, however you want to use the term, to
Sure.
these characters. And one of them, I actually spoke to someone who wrote on the original show, but things happened and we never got together to try to repitch it. But I
Ah.
also hear DreamWorks owns the rights at the moment and they're hard to deal with. So it never happened. So all I'm doing is changing these stories so that they're not with the actual character, but still have my changes, and I'll have to change a little bit more. So that's why they're longer format stories, because they're based on other people's properties. But I'm like, to me, they're too good of a story not to tell.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't I just do it myself? And that happens a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
you get your inspiration from that, and now you build on it.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, man, I think we should wrap up. We talked long enough. I'm going to have you on again, and we'll complain about something else.
Yes, grumpy old man stream. I love it,
dude. We can do that. I'll give me something to complain about. I'll do it. My wife actually thinks it's hysterical when I.
We have plenty.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
yes,
thanks for having me on, man. I really.
Yes.
It was a good conversation for sure.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So, don't forget, hold up your book again.
Oh yeah. It's Monkey Time.
It's Monkey Time, soon to be on Amazon. When it's on Amazon, I'll be sharing the link on my social media pages, but you can go to Amazon, type in It's Monkey Time, and get the first issue, which was fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
I enjoyed it because the first page has a map.
Yes, map of the town.
Yes. Oh man. Anyway, hang back for a second. I'm just gonna do my closing, and I'm gonna drop you backstage.
All right. Thanks
again
everybody
for coming on. All right, guys. So that was Phil and our long 2.5 hour talk of, oh God, what's wrong with everything? That's something I ask every day. Anyway, I'm not gonna complain anymore. I could do it right now. I just want to say thank you guys for who watched the whole thing. I really appreciate it. For those who watched bits and pieces and came back, thank you. For those who are watching this in the future, awesome. Please like and follow and subscribe on YouTube. You guys, I will see you next week with another guest. Hope you all have a great rest of your day and week and weekend, and see you next week. Bye, guys.